Good morning and welcome to another edition of Senate Commerce and Labor. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Buck. Here. Senator Daly. Here. Senator Hammond. Here. Senator Lang. Here. Senator Pazina. Present. Senator Scheibel. Here. Senator Stone. Chair Spearman.
Here, present. I'd like to say welcome to our audience that's joining us here in Carson City and in Las Vegas, and those that are joining us remotely, and anyone listening over the internet. Today, we have one bill hearing on the agenda. I'd like to take a moment to go through some basic housekeeping items. As you know, these meetings can be viewed through our streaming service of the legislature's YouTube channel, both of which can be accessed on the legislature's website. There are various ways members of the public can engage with us and participate throughout the process. These include in person in Carson City and in the Grant Sawyer Building in Las Vegas. Telephonically, instructions for telephone participation is available on today's meeting agenda. By submitting a written comment to the committee email address listed on the agenda, or by sharing your opinion via the legislature's opinion application on Nellis. Anyone wishing to testify in person should sign in at the table by the door, and please present a business card if you have one to the committee secretary. Any exhibits for the committee must be submitted in electronic format no later than 8:00 a.m. the day before. That means anyone submitting exhibits today, they will not be will not be on Nellis until at least tomorrow. You can submit those exhibits to our committee manager, Terry Miller, or our committee policy analyst, Cesar Megarejo. Committee contact information may be found on the committee webpage on Nellis. And when testifying, please remember to turn your microphone on and clearly state your name and entity and the representative and the company that you represent. Speak clearly and project your voice to ensure those watching remotely can hear your testimony, and that is very important because many people don't have, advanced computers, and if you don't speak clearly and into the microphone, they will not be able to hear you. Also, remember to turn your microphone off when you finish. A reminder to all those who testify, pursuant to Nevada Revised Statute 218E.085, it is unlawful for a person to knowingly misrepresent facts when testifying before a legislative committee. A person who knowingly does so is guilty of a misdemeanor. All committee-related information is available on Nellis, which is accessible from the legislature's website. And finally, please turn off anything that's going to say, "Hi, Mom," "Good morning, Dad," anything that's going to go, hi. Make sure all of your telephonic equipment is turned off. If it goes off while we're in the hearing, don't worry, I'll come down and take it and say hello. So just make sure it's turned off, okay? So now we will open the hearing on Senate Bill 131, sponsored by our Majority Leader, Senator Cannizzaro. The measure revises provisions relating to reproductive health care. Good morning, Majority Leader, and please begin when you're ready.
Good morning, Chair Spearman, members of the committee. My name is Nicole Cannizzaro, and I represent Senate District 6, located in the northwest portion of the Las Vegas Valley. I also serve as your Majority Leader in the Nevada State Senate. I am pleased to be with you this morning to present to you Senate Bill 131. Senate Bill 131, in its most simple form, seeks to codify Governor Steve Sisolak's Executive Order 2022-08, which provides further abortion protections and reproductive freedom in this state. For nearly 50 years, the right to privacy and control over one's own body, including the right to seek an abortion, was widely understood and accepted to be a protected right under the United States Constitution. The legal status quo that existed for over 50 years under Roe v. Wade and Casey v. Planned Parenthood was supported by the majority of Americans and the overwhelming majority of Nevadans. It bears noting that I have not lived a day in my life where Roe v. Wade has not been the law of the land. It was by no means perfect, but it served the country well, providing nationwide stability and protection, legal protection, for women and allowing people to seek reproductive care without undue government influence. Unfortunately, the day where I live in a nation that is not under the auspices of Roe versus Wade came last summer when the Supreme Court upended that 50 years of precedent. As a legally trained individual, the idea that legal precedent that has existed for over 50 years simply no longer exists is unheard of. In a decision commonly referred to as the Dobbs case, the Supreme Court enforced the wishes of an extreme ideological minority and took the rare step of erasing an established constitutional right. In doing so, the court massively expanded government power and the government's ability to control Americans' bodily autonomy. Under the new Dobbs legal framework, the regulation of abortion and reproductive health care has been returned entirely to the states, and the results in a lot of these states, quite frankly, have been horrific. After Ohio put in place one of the most restrictive abortion bans in the country last summer, the case of a 10-year-old rape victim forced to travel to Indiana for an abortion made national news. Court filings have shown that at least 2 other Ohio minors made pregnant by sexual assault have been forced to leave that state so they wouldn't be forced to carry their rapist baby. The same story played out in Mississippi this fall, where the family of a teenage rape victim was forced to travel more than 500 miles to get their daughter the care that she needed after discovering the state's only abortion clinic had closed. Mississippi law bans abortion after 6 weeks, even in cases of rape and before many women would even know that they're pregnant. And for those of you who have never had to calculate that, 6 weeks, they count from the last day of the first day of your last period. Most women are not even pregnant for a majority of that time. 6 weeks is long before a woman would usually even know that she was pregnant or test positive on a pregnancy test. In Texas and other states, there have been numerous cases of women denied timely care for major complications like ectopic pregnancies because doctors and hospitals feared repercussions under restrictive state abortion bans. During timely medically necessary care has forced women to forego safer abortion procedures and wait days or even months for a dangerous miscarriage or other immediately life-threatening conditions to arise, while all the time knowing that the pregnancy was not viable. The impact of these other states' restrictions and barriers to access is significant, and we feel it here in Nevada. For example, women of color, low income, and those living in rural parts of the country are more likely to face barriers to accessing reproductive health care, which can lead to higher rates of unintended pregnancy, maternal mortality, mental and emotional damage, and other adverse health conditions. In Nevada, our current statutory protections were put into place in 1990. When Nevadans overwhelmingly approved Question 7, which protects most abortion procedures and an individual's right to choose. More recently, Nevada laws were amended in 2019 through Senate Bill 179, also known as the Trust Nevada Women Act. These changes aligned informed consent laws with current medical standards of care, removed outdated criminal penalties, and repealed outdated statutes that prohibited the use of medication to end a pregnancy. As the laws in other states become more backwards and restrictive, women will be forced to take even more drastic action to protect themselves. In many cases, what that means and what that means for this state and this committee is that those women are seeking care in Nevada. They are coming to states like Nevada where the right to an abortion is somewhat protected. And we're seeing it already happening. Las Vegas and Reno are already seeing an influx of patients from out of state, and the number of out-of-state patients at clinics in the Las Vegas area, for example, has doubled since last July. Clinics across the state are seeing patients coming from Idaho, Texas, Arizona, Utah, and even as far away as the East Coast, and our providers expect those numbers to increase. While this new situation is unfolding, extremist politicians and their allies across the country are not simply content to outlaw abortion in their own states, and that is why this bill is so important for the state of Nevada. They plan to push their new ability to use their own state power to the limits in the quest to eradicate reproductive freedoms nationwide, targeting patients, providers, and anyone who assists them, even if those patients and providers and the people assisting them live in a state like Nevada. Just last week, the governor of Virginia helped kill proposed legislation to enhance data privacy protections for women who use apps to track their menstrual cycles, a bipartisan bill that was designed to protect that data from being used to prosecute women who seek reproductive care. Legislators in Texas are reportedly considering new bills to increase the power of local district attorneys to prosecute abortion providers, penalize organizations that help Texans receive abortion medication via the internet, criminally punish companies that financially support out-of-state abortion travel, and expand private rights of action, lawsuits against anyone who assists a Texan in seeking an abortion out of state. Legislators in Missouri and elsewhere have also introduced bills to ban out-of-state abortions, bills whose sole purpose is to harass patients and the providers and their family members, friends, and organizations that may support them. While most of these bills have stalled in the short term, we've seen repeatedly that when it comes to restricting reproductive freedom, today's fringe idea can end up on a governor's desk in the not-too-distant future. And it's these new threats that are arising across the country that Senate Bill 131 is working to address. So in the wake of the Dobbs decision, Governor Sisolak signed an executive order on June 28, 2022, which prohibited state agencies to assist other states to prosecute a person receiving reproductive health services in Nevada. It limited extradition of a person who is charged with the violation of another state's law relating to reproductive health care services, and prevented certain state boards from disciplining their licensees for providing services relating to reproductive health care. To be clear, this executive order means that another state who is seeking to pass a law to come into Nevada to prosecute women and providers who seek care here in our state, where it is perfectly legal to do so, cannot overstep their bounds and prosecute them for things that happen here in Nevada. As of today, it appears that this executive order is still in effect, which is great news. But patients who are coming to Nevada and our healthcare providers operating here can't rely on an executive order. They cannot rely on something that tomorrow, or this afternoon, frankly, could be gone. Senate Bill 131 will further strengthen reproductive rights in Nevada as it codifies the protections of Governor Sisolak's executive order in state statute. Madam Chair, with your permission, I will provide an overview of the provisions of this bill. First, as it is defined throughout the bill, reproductive health care services includes medical, surgical, counseling, or referral services related to the human reproductive system, including, without limitation, services related to pregnancy, contraception, the termination of a pregnancy, or any procedure or care found by a competent medical professional to be appropriate based on the wishes of a patient and in accordance with Nevada laws. Section 1 prohibits healthcare licensing boards from disqualifying a licensee or subjecting a licensee to discipline solely because the licensee provided or assisted in providing reproductive healthcare services or was subject to judgment, discipline, or other sanction from another state for providing or assisting in providing certain reproductive healthcare services if the services provided would have been lawful and consistent with practice standards in the relevant profession in Nevada. Section 2 prohibits the governor from surrendering or issuing a warrant of arrest for a person in Nevada who is charged in another state with a criminal violation if the alleged violation involves providing, assisting, or receiving reproductive health care services unless such acts would constitute a criminal offense under Nevada laws. In addition, Section 2 excludes from this prohibition circumstances where executive authority of another state demands a surrender of a person who was physically present in the demanding state at the time of the commission of the alleged offense and then fled from that state. Section 3 prohibits state agencies in the executive department from providing information or the use of certain resources to assist an investigation or proceeding initiated in another state related to providing, assisting, or receiving reproductive health care services, except under limited circumstances. And finally, Section 4 requires healthcare licensing boards to examine the feasibility of providing opportunities for licensure reciprocity to providers of healthcare who provide reproductive healthcare services in other states. The objective is to facilitate the provisions of quality reproductive health care services to persons from other states who seek reproductive health care services in Nevada. Madam Chair, members of the committee, reproductive rights are an essential aspect of individual freedom and autonomy. While other states have seen and will continue to see draconian anti-choice and anti-freedom laws proposed and passed, Senate Bill 131 sends a message that reproductive freedom is respected here, and that patients and healthcare providers are safe and welcome in Nevada. And that is consistent with current Nevada law. Chair Spearman, this concludes my formal remarks. I urge your support and the committee's support of Senate Bill 131, and I'm happy to answer any questions that members of the committee may have.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Are there any questions of the committee members? Senator Daly.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Majority Leader, for presenting the bill. I have two questions, general, and just wanted to actually get something on the record. I believe I already know the answer to my first question, but and it's with regard to Section 2, where we have the notwithstanding language there. And I just wanted to make sure that I'm clear, is that there is a general provision in law which gives the governor a certain amount of authority, and that this then restricts that general authority in his specific language, and that would remove that authority in this certain circumstance in accordance with the rest of the section. And it's my understanding that under statutory construction, judicial review, et cetera, that the specific language would override the general language in case there's any interpretation later, so that the intent of the legislation is to limit anybody's authority to grant this stuff. It's restricted, and if passed by the legislature, then would become the intent of the legislature in case anybody was checking. Wanted to have that on the record if the answer is yes.
Thank you, Nicole Cannizzaro, Senate District 6, Madam Chair, through you and to Senator Daly.
Just go direct.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Daly, to answer your question quite simply, yes, that is correct. The provisions that are included under Section 2, subsection 1, where it references Chapter 179, deals with the governor's authority to participate in extraditions. The governor's ability to sign an extradition warrant is sort of uniquely his authority to do so, right? It's within his discretion to sign those warrants. Sometimes governors don't sign extradition warrants for various reasons. Maybe it is a low threshold property crime and maybe the costs outweigh what might happen. Often, if it is a request for a murder or a robbery from another state, they would sign those extradition warrants. But technically speaking, the governor does have some wide discretion in signing extradition warrants. What this language is intended to do is to be very specific, that when another state is seeking to extradite someone from Nevada who has participated in reproductive health care services that took place here in Nevada, where it is legal, that the governor does not have the discretion to sign that extradition warrant, and rather that we would prohibit another state from seeking to extradite someone from Nevada for the care that they received here in state.
Yep. And so the specific language would take precedent over the general language, and that's what I wanted to just make sure of.
Nicole Cannizzaro, Senate District 6, Senator Daly, that is correct.
And a second question, if I can? Yep. So the second question was in Section 3 regarding agencies shall not provide information on various things. And I know when the governor made the executive order, he can only make executive orders that cover the executive branch and state agencies. But it occurred to me that maybe in the legislation, we would want to go to the extent they may have some of this information, health departments, local jurisdictions, whatever it might be, any subdivision of the state. Because I know, for instance, health departments, track communicable diseases. They're in contact with the school district if there's outbreaks and various things. So I don't know if they track or have this information, but it seems to me it would be logical to extend to the extent they may have it, that they wouldn't be able to provide it either, which we can do in legislature, which the executive order could not cover. So just those are my two thoughts. Appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole Cannizzaro, Senate District 6, to you, Senator Daly. That is correct. What we're seeking to do is to make sure that our state agencies aren't being compelled by other states to provide information to those other states, which will be used for the purpose of prosecuting patients and providers for services that, again, are obtained here in Nevada legally under the laws of Nevada. This wouldn't prohibit other information that those same agencies might be providing related to things that are outside of what we've defined as reproductive health care. And so what this is seeking to do, and what certainly the language of this bill can do, and was within the intent of the executive order as well, and as a legislature, you are correct. We have the ability to restrain the ability for that information to be disseminated to other states. We are trying to ensure that another state cannot sort of surreptitiously come into Nevada, seek information about patients and providers, and use it out of state in order to prosecute and go after those providers and those patients.
And I agree, and I understand that's the way I read it, but it only applies to state agencies. I was just curious if we would want to extend it to local governments to the extent they had that knowledge, and put the same restriction on that the governor couldn't do an executive order, but the legislature can.
Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6, and that's an excellent point, Senator Daly. Obviously, the language here pertains to state agencies and licensing boards, and certainly to the extent that it may include locals, we'll definitely take a look at that, because I think that is the intent, right, is to keep that information from being disseminated and used for those more nefarious purposes.
Thank you. And just before I go further, I think one of the questions, I just want to follow up on what Senator Daly said. We are a Dillon's Rule state, and so we have the power to set those parameters for local governments as well. So, additional questions? Committee members? Senator Stone?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Senator. I have a few questions, if you don't mind. The first, I'm going to first piggyback on my colleagues' questions. Basically says that the governor shall not be able to cooperate with another state seeking to prosecute or cite a physician for an issue that is legal in Nevada. And let me qualify by saying that I do not support prosecuting women that are seeking abortion services in Nevada. I want to make sure that's very clear. So does this bill prevent the governor or any other executive agencies from surrendering, issuing warrants if the alleged criminals alleged to have occurred in another state, or does Section 2 and 3 only apply to reproductive health care services rendered here in Nevada, or both?
Thank you, Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6, Senator Stone, and I know you have very adept legal counsel on this committee, and so I'm sure they will correct me if I get this part incorrect. But what this does not do is say that the governor does not have the ability, the state does not have the ability to participate with other states if they're seeking extradition, warrants of arrest, or investigations for things that are not related to reproductive health care services that do not occur in Nevada, right? That would be akin to saying if a robbery occurred in Utah, we would not participate. That is not what this bill does. It is very specific to reproductive health care services that are rendered here in Nevada for the patients that are seeking them, who obtain them here in Nevada, and the providers who are providing that health care here in Nevada.
Okay, thank you. If I can follow up. All states belong to what's called an interstate compact. I'm sure you're aware of that, being a former district attorney. An agreement between states to cooperate with the extradition of alleged criminals for alleged crimes. Now, according to the U.S. Constitution, Article 4, Section 2, Clause 2, it reads, "A person charged in any state with treason, felony, or other crime who shall flee from justice and be found in another state shall, not may, shall, on demand of the executive authority of the state from which he fled, be delivered up to be removed to the state having jurisdiction of the crime." So I guess my question is for either you or legal counsel. This is the United States Constitution. Under the Supremacy Clause of the U.S. Constitution, can we pick and choose those crimes, if you will, that we're willing to extradite or not extradite? It seems very clear that the governor has a clear choice to extradite. And if we do get into this contest, if you will, with other states, are they going to not allow us to extradite criminals from their states coming into our states as we cherry pick the kind of crimes that would be covered under this legislation?
Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6. Senator Stone, I think that you have sort of touched upon one of the things that actually is very common with extradition. Even though there is a requirement for states to obviously cooperate in extradition proceedings. That does not, and as you mentioned, as a former prosecutor myself, there are times where other states will not extradite someone who we have an outstanding warrant for. It's not until they come into the state of Nevada and are arrested by law enforcement that they are prosecuted for the crimes for that outstanding warrant. There are times where the governor here may decide and elect not to sign an extradition warrant. Those are discretionary. Obviously, there are interstate compacts that come into play. And I mean, if we as a state were to completely stop extraditing anybody, certainly I think there may be some additional questions, and potentially, that may become an issue between states. But that is not what Senate Bill 131 is seeking to do. I would also point out that Governor Sisolak's executive order has been outstanding since June of 2022. We have seen and I am aware of no issues regarding the extradition proceedings interstate, for the purpose that this executive order was created and since its signature and adoption. So I don't believe that Senate Bill 131 would provide a basis for another state to completely stop cooperating with our extradition purposes. And additionally, there are other states that are looking at similar laws who do have protected reproductive rights and reproductive health care in their states, who are seeking to ensure that other states cannot come into their states and say, hey, look, you're doing this particular procedure, you're having this reproductive health care, you are seeking medical care in a state where if you were in our state, it would be illegal. So therefore, we want to pull you back into our state and prosecute you for something that happened out of state. That is even uniquely rare for another state to do because they wouldn't technically, I think, have jurisdiction. But
Right.
states are passing these laws saying that they can absolutely do that, granting themselves jurisdiction to go after patients and providers. And so this is sort of seeking to keep in line with that. And I would leave it to legal counsel to sort of, I think, maybe opine on the supremacy clause, but I do know that under current law and have experienced that it is not mandatory that a governor signs an extradition warrant, and that happens, not frequently, but it does happen. It's not uncommon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple more, if I may. With regard to reciprocity, this bill says that you will explore reciprocity with other states for women's health professionals. Why limit it to just women's health professionals? We have a shortage of healthcare physicians throughout the state, number one. And number two, if the reciprocity is granted to docs that claim they are reproductive docs, can they just come here and then decide to become general practitioners and circumvent the licensure process?
Nicole Cannizzaro, Senate District 6, to Senator Stone. This bill is very specific in what it is intending to do, which is to help protect our providers and our patients here in Nevada. In Nevada, we have a very, very, very small number. I believe, and I may be incorrect about this exact number, and I will follow up and make sure that I get you the correct number, but I believe it's 8 providers in the state of Nevada. It is not very many. And for other doctors that are practicing, in settings where maybe they're encountering a medical emergency, we want them to know that they can practice here without having any repercussions, right? You don't want for a doctor to be in the middle of a woman who presents with an ectopic pregnancy,
Right.
who is on the verge of dying, to have to pause about whether or not they may be subject to legal action because that pause could cost that woman her life for an unviable pregnancy. What this bill is seeking to do is to say, look, we'll look at reciprocity where it is appropriate for reproductive health care services, because we know that there are providers who are simply being shut out of other states. They just don't exist. Those clinics are being closed. Those doctors have nowhere to go. And we do not have enough providers here in the state to attend to all of the women and patients who are seeking care, both in-state and out of state. And so to the extent that we can widen that network, this bill is going to be able to give us the ability to do that. Certainly, I think that the boards and commissions in this state would see this language. It is very specific to reproductive health care services. It is not sort of a window in to then say, hey, I want to come in for reproductive health care services. Maybe I don't have those credentials. Now I want to practice some other version of medical care, right? Those boards and
Right.
commissions would still have the ability to regulate those professions, because this bill, again, is very specific with respect to what it is that we are looking at. And we're doing so because I agree with you. There is absolutely, and I think, this body as a whole, it takes this up frequently the times that I have been in this building as well. How is it that we grow and expand our medical provider network? Because that is something that is not unique necessarily to reproductive health care services, but this bill is very specific and is intended to get at that particular practice area because of what we are seeing in such a short period of time in the wake of the Dobbs decision. Patients who can't get care, providers who can't provide that care. It is a healthcare necessity that we look at it in a very emergency type way. And so that is why this bill is very specific to reproductive health care services. And I do not believe, and it is not intended to sort of be a way to wedge a foot in the door and come in and practice any type of medicine, right? It's very specific.
Thank you for clarifying that. Nevada law, in contrast to the laws in many other states like Utah, Arizona, and Idaho, does not mandate parental notification for minors getting an abortion. Nevada is already the second largest trafficker corridor in the country next to Mississippi. I've received hundreds of emails from people, and this seems to be the common theme. Won't this bill make it easier for human traffickers of minors and pedophiles to simply just cross state lines, like from Utah, without having parental consent laws there, to seek abortions for minors and then return them to their chain of human trafficking? Will this not make us basically a sanctuary state for abortions for these illicit people coming into our state? I don't think you want Nevada to be known for this part of our economy. We're certainly entertainment, we're sports, tourism is a big part of our economy here. Do we want to include tourism for abortions to be a part of our stereotype here in Nevada?
Thank you. Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6, to you, Senator Stone. First and foremost, the idea that we are going to classify a patient or a woman coming to Nevada to seek reproductive health care, which, by the way, is not a small feat, right? This is someone who is seeking access to care that they cannot get somewhere else. Those are desperate situations.
Yeah.
The idea that we're going to classify that as tourism, I find exceedingly problematic because it's not tourism. No one's coming to Nevada to seek reproductive health care. A woman or even a minor is not seeking reproductive health care as a basis for tourism. And if we are going to talk about sex trafficking, which I have sponsored many pieces of legislation dealing with, which I have had experience dealing with in a professional setting, there are a number of things that occur in Nevada that can also speak to why it is that we see higher levels of sex trafficking here in this state. So if we want to go down that road and assume that because we are going to protect providers and patients from criminal prosecution by other states, by saying that, hey, here in Nevada, which, by the way, it is already the law in Nevada that someone can seek an abortion here, that they can seek reproductive health care here. What this bill is trying to do is to say, look, we are not going to participate in another state's prosecution of you. We cannot prosecute them here in Nevada for this because that is not the law in Nevada. We can look at a number of different things that occur in Nevada that includes, I'm sure, a whole host of things relating to tourism that more accurately reflects some of the reasons why it is so difficult for us to target sex trafficking, right? We have a lot of trucking that comes through this state. We have casinos and gambling and things like that that can contribute to that. And so I do not think that this bill is a way to allow us a platform to claim that this is what contributes to sex trafficking. You can look at the data on that. You can look at the criminal prosecutions on that. I think if we want to tackle sex trafficking, this has nothing to do with it. If we want to tackle sex trafficking, we have to be more diligent about how we identify those perpetrators, how it is that we are able to prosecute those those perpetrators, how it is that we are able to get to those minors and to those women, because I have practiced with young minors who find themselves in sex trafficking situations. There are a plethora of reasons why that happens. We have to do better to provide community supports to families to ensure that their children don't end up in that situation. We have to be able to communicate with those children so that they understand that going with some person who shows up and promises them the world is not what they are going to get, that they have to be aware of those situations, that parents have to be aware and guardians, that the schools have to be aware. There are a whole list of other things, and the idea that this bill would be referred to as a way to create abortion tourism ignores the reason why women and patients seek reproductive health care. And I would also note that this is not, and we should not, get into, well, this particular example. The point of this is that someone who is seeking reproductive health care should be able to go to a provider and seek the medical care that they need, period. And that is not for us to delve into. It is not for us to delve into why they sought particular care, why it is that their provider and that patient made a particular choice in what they were going to seek. And so I think that that is, frankly, a red herring to detract from what this bill is trying to do and make it into something that it is not. If we want to have a conversation about sex trafficking, we can do that. But this bill is not a sex trafficking bill. It doesn't create abortion tourism, which I personally find offensive. This is a place for patients and providers to know that they can continue to do what is legal under Nevada law without being prosecuted for it.
Yeah, just one follow-up, and that is that you mentioned the word medical many times in the last conversation we just had. I'm only hoping that this does get referred to Health and Human Services so we can address the medical needs as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Buck.
Thank you, Chair Spearman. Thank you, Majority Leader. I just wondered, are medical providers mandatory reporters? So if there's suspected abuse, pedophilia, sex trafficking, referring to all of my colleagues' emails, we're getting a lot of emails, do they not have to report that?
Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6, to you, Senator Buck. Again, I would stress that this bill is not related. This is not a sex trafficking bill. This is not an abortion tourism bill. This is not relating to child abuse or to pedophilia. That is not what this bill is about. And so to try to go down that road, again, I would maintain is a red herring. It is a way for someone to become detracted by what the language of this bill is trying to do, and what the current state of the law in Nevada is. Medical providers are still subject to all of the conditions of their license. They are still subject to comply with any laws that are applicable to them. This bill does not change any of that. What this bill says is that if you are a medical provider and another state says, hey, doctor, you provided reproductive health care services, we believe, to this patient. We want you to tell us everything about what happened with that patient, because here in fill in the blank state, Missouri, Indiana, Ohio, we're passing laws that allow us to prosecute someone for what they did in Nevada, even though here in Nevada, this is all legal. This does not change the procedures or the providers or the services that are available in Nevada. So the idea that somehow this is going to open up some more nefarious, port for people to come here and do things that are outside of the bounds of what is already law is simply to ignore the language of this bill and to ignore what currently exists under the Nevada revised statutes. Medical providers do not lose their regulations, their requirements under their license to continue to practice in a safe and appropriate manner. Where they are mandatory reporters, they would maintain that. This does not change that. What this changes is if a state says we want to prosecute a patient, they are then not eligible or able to provide that information to assist in the prosecution for the reproductive services, right? Not for some other thing that may be occurring. Just that they cannot participate in providing information related to the health care that was provided to that patient.
Thank you, Majority Leader. So we do not currently prosecute women doctors. The people spoke in 1990. So I guess I'm failing to see what the bill actually does. Why?
Nicole Cannizzaro, Senate District 6. So as I delineated in my remarks, post-Dobbs, other states are passing laws where they are seeking to prosecute patients and providers of reproductive health care to say that because they don't, that state, because that decision is now left to the states under Dobbs, right? It is not a right to privacy that is read into the United States Constitution, as was the law under Roe versus Wade and Casey versus Planned Parenthood. So these other states, post-Dobbs, are taking that, I guess, the eradication of that particular constitutional right to say that they are going to prosecute any person who, even if they seek care out of state, should be prosecuted in that state. And so what this bill is seeking to do is to say that the state of Nevada, if another state issues a warrant for extradition saying there's a patient or a provider who are providing or who received reproductive health care services in Nevada, where it was legal, we want to extradite them and we want to prosecute them here in our state because we don't believe, as whatever that state may be, that this is something that should be legal. That is not for another state to decide what is legal or not legal in Nevada. That is for the state of Nevada to decide. And as you mentioned, in 1990, the voters decided that that would be legal here in Nevada. What this is also seeking to do is to say that if a medical provider in another state was subject to disciplinary action, not because they provided incompetent care, not because they violated the terms of their licenses, but merely because they practice in the area of reproductive health care services, and that state has now determined that reproductive health care services is not something that they want to be legal in their state, contrary to what Nevada law is, that then that healthcare provider, when they come here, if they are seeking a license, cannot be denied a license solely for the basis that they were subject to discipline or some sort of sanction in another state for providing those services. If they provided inaccurate services, if they defrauded patients, if they, didn't comply with the medical standards of their profession, they certainly, and the boards here, would have the ability to absolutely deny a license. It is also saying that state agencies will not provide information saying, yes, this provider is practicing reproductive health care, here are the patients that they have provided that to, here is what is happening in that clinic, because frankly, in Nevada, that is perfectly legal. And so it would be akin to if another state were to say, well, marijuana is legal in Nevada, we want to prosecute somebody for smoking marijuana while they were in Nevada. In Nevada, it is legal while you are here. If it is illegal in that state, don't do it in that state, right? But if you do it here, they can't come across the border and try to prosecute you for something that happened in Nevada. And so because of the wake of those very draconian laws in these other states that are seeking to overstep their bounds, this law is necessary in order to protect patients and providers from doing things that are legal here in Nevada.
Senator Scheibel.
Thank you so much. I want to focus a little bit more on the providers because we have a provider shortage, which we have been talking about, and nationally, there's a provider shortage for reproductive health care. It is, at this point in time, frankly, a dangerous field to practice in. We have seen countless providers across the country subject to violence, harassment, threats. It is, not easy to provide women's health care in the current political climate. And so, like everybody on this committee, in this body, I'm concerned about all patients in Nevada getting good, accurate, quality care here at home or wherever they might be. And I'm concerned about providers coming to Nevada and staying in Nevada. So I want to make sure that I'm understanding properly that this provides a necessary backstop to the overwhelming draconian influences of outside states that are trying to continually criminalize the medical providers who are providing people with reproductive health care, which, as we've talked about, can touch on everything from providing a birth control prescription to addressing an ectopic pregnancy, to carrying a pregnancy to term, to evaluating the viability of a pregnancy. All of this type of medical care rests on a spectrum. And I'm not a doctor. I don't think anybody up here is a doctor who is qualified to delineate between those different types of care and which ones constitute a different type, which one constitutes even an abortion, which one constitutes what is legal in one state and what is legal in another state. And so what I'm concerned about is ensuring that this bill provides the necessary guidelines to say that if you are a medical provider and you want to provide reproductive care for people who live, who come to Nevada, who are in Nevada, we are going to protect you. And when you practice with your medical license in Nevada, you do not have to worry about the repercussions of people in other states who want to say that the choice that you made to come to Las Vegas or to come to Carlin or to come to Elko or to come to Reno and be a reproductive health care provider is going to be criminalized. Because as long as you live in Nevada and you practice in Nevada and you utilize your license here to provide good quality care to the people who need it, you can be rest assured that your government, that your legislature has your back, and we're not going to let anybody else come in here and arrest doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, APRNs for providing health care to people who need it. And without SB 131, we can't make those guarantees to the providers who choose to live and work and practice in Nevada. So is this a necessary step to close that loop and to develop a complete system of care for both providers and patients, ensuring that everybody who walks into their work in the morning in a medical office knows that when they provide good quality care to patients, they are not going to be subject to legal criminal action from people outside of the state of Nevada who have a different idea about what is right and what is wrong and what people deserve in their own healthcare communities.
Thank you. Nicole Cannizzaro, Senate District 6, to you, Senator Scheibel. I think that is absolutely correct, right? This is a bill that is necessary so that there is certainty in the law in Nevada. What is already current law is that you can seek reproductive health care services. And I think to your point that there are sort of a wide array of what constitutes reproductive health care services, and we should not be delineating between what is appropriate and what is not appropriate, especially because in Nevada, it is all legal. Right? And so that's why you see a very broad, expansive definition in Section 1, subsection I think that's it, 2B for reproductive health care services, which could include contraception, right? It could include emergency care by a provider for a woman who presents with an ectopic pregnancy. It could be an OBGYN who is helping a woman to carry a baby to full term and doing all of the intermittent care that comes with that. And it could be somebody seeking an abortion. It covers all of those different practices, and the point is that in Nevada, you as a patient have a choice to seek reproductive health care. That is legal here. That was put into place by the voters in Nevada. It exists under current Nevada statutes, and it is perfectly legal here in this state to seek that care. And we should not be, as the government, seeking to delineate or to question women about what type of care, women or patients, what type of care it is that they are seeking, right? We should be saying to these providers, you can practice reproductive health care for whatever it is that that patient who presents to you needs and wants and chooses, so that you can make sure that they are safe. And that is exactly why this is necessary, so that we can assure those providers that what they're doing here, which is legal under Nevada law, they're not going to be hauled into another state for and prosecuted. And I think that that is necessary when we're talking about a lack of providers in such a substantial way. In a situation where this really is becoming, a health emergency for so many patients who are trying to seek this type of care in places like Nevada, where it is still legal, We are seeing an overwhelming, as I mentioned in my remarks, a doubling of patients since just since July. That's a lot for a very stretched provider network to continue to provide, and that includes everyone who is seeking any type of reproductive care under that very broad definition. So I would agree with you. Yes.
Senator Hammond?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Majority Leader. Thank you for the explanations. I've been trying to listen and understand. I don't want to repeat anything, so I'm very careful in what I want to ask. The way I look at it, we already have this on the books right now, the ability to go in and seek reproductive health care in the state of Nevada is codified. It's there. It hasn't been taken away. The bill, as I'm trying to read it and understand, and I understood the answer that you gave to both Senator Buck and others, what it pretends to do. The question I have really is, if it's legal here, and Dobbs, the way I understand Dobbs, is that the Supreme Court the decision in Dobbs was, we're handing this back to the states. The states are going to decide how they want to proceed in health care, reproductive health care in particular, for their citizens. Until that last statement, I wasn't sure exactly what you were trying to, I mean, I knew part of what you're trying to get at, and that was to try and protect those coming into the state seeking reproductive health care services here. But until you said that, you're expanding this. So this is, the executive order came out. This is a slight expansion of the executive order because you're adding in a few things in that definition of reproductive health. That's the way I understood the last answer that you gave. So, but the majority of what this bill seeks to do, in my mind, as I'm reading it, it seeks to restrict what the governor can do, as well as state agencies and what they can do or can't do when it comes to people coming into the state. So it seems like it's protecting more the citizens coming in from other states into our state. So the question I have is pretty simple. What does it do for the citizens of the state of Nevada, other than expand the definition of reproductive health care? Because it does seem to limit the ability that we, as the citizens of the state of Nevada, can conduct our business. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6, to you, Senator Hammond. So first, I will take the idea that somehow this definition in Section 1, subsection 2B of reproductive health care services is more expansive than the executive order on page 2 of Executive Order 2022-08 in Section 4 for definitions. In the executive order, it says, for the purpose of this order, reproductive health care services includes all medical, surgical, counseling, or referral services relating to the human reproductive system, including but not limited to services relating to pregnancy, contraception, the termination of pregnancy, or any procedure or care found by a competent medical professional to be appropriate based upon the wishes of the patient and in accordance with the laws of this state, which is verbatim the definition in Section 1, subsection 2B of reproductive health care services. What this definition exists for is not to expand what currently is legal in Nevada. All of these different types of care are legal in Nevada, right? What it is seeking to do is to define, when we say someone who is looking for reproductive health care services here in Nevada, who is seeking it, be they a Nevadan or someone who comes here from out of state, or frankly, someone who comes from out of state and then moves to Nevada, maybe, right? It could cover any number of situations, and probably a number that I am not even thinking of. It is trying to say that that is what we are getting at, right? That type of care. If a medical provider is providing incompetent care, if they are hurting patients, right? If they are defrauding patients, then the provisions of Senate Bill 131 would not permit that medical provider to maintain a license. It wouldn't, it would not prohibit someone from, trying to prosecute them or to seek a lawsuit against them for those types of things. So that's why that definition exists, right? And the same for patients, right? If a patient is coming in and seeking reproductive health care services, that is perfectly legal in Nevada. We want to maintain that, right? And so that is, I guess, the purpose for that definition. is to say that this is the type of conduct which is currently legal in Nevada and for which this bill applies. With respect to, for example, the extradition pieces of this bill, if a patient comes to Nevada and seeks care here in Nevada that is legal, what Nevada is not going to do is extradite that person to another state or participate in that prosecution when that other state says, hey, you traveled to Nevada, you received this type of care, which, by the way, when you did it was perfectly legal. But we, as this other state, don't think that it should be legal, so we're going to prosecute you for something, for actions that occurred in the state of Nevada. And so certainly Dobbs and the United States Supreme Court have handed the decisions about what should be permitted and not permitted to the states, right? It has sort of removed or ignored what was previous law under Roe versus Wade to say that there is an inherent right to privacy that would allow for this type of practice to occur in states, right? And that you can't put, under Casey versus Planned Parenthood, unreasonable restrictions on the ability for someone to seek that type of care. And so what this is looking to do is to say that in Nevada, we made the choice, right, in 1990, and under current statute, that has not changed, you can seek this type of care. We want to make sure that that is maintained here in Nevada. Other states may make a different decision, but what we're seeing in those states making those decisions is not simply a decision to say, we do not want for reproductive health care services to be legal here in the state, right? We want to put all of these restrictions on, and I talked about that a bit in my comments. What they are also doing is saying that if you go to another state and seek this type of care, we are going to prosecute you for having even gotten that care, irrespective of whether or not that care is legal in the state in which it was obtained. And so what this is seeking to do is to say, and to your point about what does this do for Nevadans? Number one, as a Nevadan, you can go and you can get health care, reproductive health care, without worrying about whether or not another state is going to come after you. Whether or not if you moved to another state, they would be able to prosecute you for things that you did while you were here in Nevada. And to say to them, like, look, you can just seek care. You don't have to worry about being prosecuted, right? You can seek care for what it is you need in the reproductive health care services space. For providers that are practicing here, we want them to be able to continue to provide that care. It is a necessary, and to be very clear, reproductive health care is health care. It is necessary, and it is medically needed for so many of those patients, whether they are in-state or out-of-state people who are seeking that care. To those providers who are practicing here in Nevada, legally, doing legal medical practicing of their, under their license for reproductive health care, that they're not going to be hauled off into another state, that we're not going to extradite them to another state, that they can continue to provide that care without fearing whether or not they are going to, face repercussions or prosecution. I think that that is very essential to ensuring that reproductive health care still exists here in Nevada, which again, as we've all talked about and as you mentioned, is legal here in Nevada. The voters decided that they wanted that here in Nevada. It is in line with Nevada statutes, and time again, that has been the case. And so this is just seeking to say that what is legal here in Nevada is legal here in Nevada. And if another state doesn't want this, that's fine, but our providers and our patients here are going to be able to receive that care and not have to fear prosecution or the revocation of a medical license.
If I may, Madam Chair. Thank you for the explanation. And I think that when I asked the question about the expansion from the executive order, I think I may have misspoke because I thought I heard you say that there was a definitional change that does expand, and it might have just been from what is current, that the executive order may have expanded it. And so what you're doing is definitionally taking exactly what was in the executive order, putting it in this bill, but there is an expansion of it from what is current right now, which is totally okay, because that's exactly what Dobbs is trying to say, is that every state should be able to decide what they want to do and how how you might define it, who can legally participate in it, and so forth. Is it though an expansion of what is current right now?
Thank you. Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6, to you, Senator Hammond. It is not what this definition is trying to do, right? Because you have to put parameters. If you're saying this is only going to pertain to reproductive health care, right? It's not saying, like, if a doctor were to steal a bunch of money from patients or whatever. This doesn't touch that, right? This touches providing reproductive health care. when you're trying to say what is protected and what is not protected, what are we extraditing for or not extraditing for, what can a board or commission, penalize or deny a license to a potential licensee for, you have to have a definition, right? We do that all the time in legislation. You have to have a definition for what you're getting at. Everything that you see in subsection 4 of Executive Order 2022-08 in the definitions, and also in Senate Bill 131, Section 1, subsection 2B, those are all currently, under Nevada law, permitted, legal, healthcare services. Sorry, my words slipped my mind for a moment. Those are all perfectly permitted, legal. They're allowed to be practiced here in Nevada. They align with Nevada statutes. They don't expand what we're permitting here in Nevada. It is simply delineating what exactly is protected under this bill and under the executive order. It doesn't expand reproductive health care here in the state. All of this is perfectly legal. I think to the point of making sure that it was an expansive definition is that you want to, this is not just if somebody is seeking an abortion. This is if you have any type of medical health care in the reproductive space, right? So that's why you see that it says, including without limitation, services relating to pregnancy. If you are pregnant and you are trying to carry that baby to full term, you want that OBGYN to be able to provide you the right care, the right guidance, and allow you as a patient to make the right decisions for your family and for that pregnancy. For contraception, to ensure that patients can still seek contraception here in Nevada, that providers can still provide that without facing repercussions. For the termination of a pregnancy or any procedure or care found to be by a competent medical professional, those are all legal here in Nevada. The termination of a pregnancy, be that because someone is seeking an abortion, or a woman who's trying to have a baby finds out that that baby doesn't have a heartbeat, or they have an ectopic pregnancy and they have to undergo emergency medical treatment. It doesn't differentiate between that. It's saying all of these types of services that are currently legal in Nevada fall under the provisions of this bill and under this executive order. And so it doesn't expand the type of healthcare that exists in Nevada. It just is defining what is covered by this executive order and by Senate Bill 131.
Thank you. Actually, I had two small ones. One, just a point of clarification, and that definition you just gave us, it talked about competent medical professional. Is there a reason that we don't put licensed competent medical professional in there? And that might be a question for legal as well, why we didn't draft it with licensed competent medical professional. And then I'll let you answer that, and then I'll ask one small little question. Okay.
I'm going to ask the committee members if they will defer their questions, because we have people waiting on the phone, and so I want to make sure we can get to as many as possible. So if you can hold that until after we do the callers.
Well, she was going to answer one of the questions
Okay.
already.
Well, so answer the one and then save the second, okay?
We'll save the second
Okay,
till later.
thank you.
Thank you, Nicole Cannizzaro, Senate District 6. To you, Senator Hammond. Tripping over my words this morning a little bit. So it doesn't say licensed. I would defer to legal as to why it might not say licensed. I would assume that a medical practitioner who is competent is licensed here in the state. Otherwise, that is a completely different situation, right? If you're practicing medical services without a healthcare license, I think that does not fall within the parameters of Senate Bill 131. And so I don't know if there are other portions of NRS that simply reflect competent, or if we are always required to say licensed, or if there are other provisions of NRS that would apply to this, saying obviously if you're practicing medical care here, you have a license. If not, then you're practicing medical care without a license, and that's a completely different situation. But this is intended to get at, obviously, licensed, competent care.
Yeah, save it till later. We have almost 40 people waiting on the phone, and so committee members, we can always come back to this during work session and ask those questions on the record if we need to, but I want to make sure that we get the people who have taken their time to either here in the room or those that are on the phone get a chance. We can come back around to committee members after we take the callers, okay? So I appreciate your understanding. I just have one quick question, and that is, I'm trying to understand healthcare. Does that include dialysis? Does that include open heart surgery? Does that include a root canal? Does that include ED? Does that include any other type of thing? Because it seems that the tie-in here seems to be health care, which is the umbrella. And so health care is legal in Nevada, and it doesn't matter what kind of health care. If someone comes here for health care, then it is legal. I just explain it to me like I'm in second grade, okay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6 to you. Yes, you are correct. If someone were to come here for a root canal from out of state, they wouldn't be subject to prosecution because healthcare for a root canal, dental services, is perfectly legal here. What the difference is that another state is not trying to come into Nevada and prosecute that patient for getting a root canal, right? But that's what we are seeing here in the reproductive healthcare space. So healthcare is absolutely legal here in Nevada. You can obtain healthcare. Lots of people obtain healthcare out of state. That happens regularly. There are some places where you may need some more acute treatment. You may find yourself at a Johns Hopkins or somewhere in California seeking treatment for a cancer, or you may be headed somewhere because they have a particular dialysis program that is more akin to what your needs are. We don't prosecute people for those types of things. And so I think this is in alignment with I think what you're getting at, Madam Chair. And so we are just trying to make sure that we're very particular about saying that reproductive health care is health care as well. And so it is legal here in Nevada, and you cannot be prosecuted for what health care you seek here in Nevada. If it's reproductive health care, if it's a dental procedure, if it's dialysis, cancer treatment, etc.
Thank you. We have, I think, is it 24? 24 for, and we have 27 against that are on the phone. We're going to... In person. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is to make sure that we do this seamlessly. Majority Leader, do you have anybody else who's going to present?
I do not, Madam Chair.
Okay, so I'm going to take 30 minutes per, and we'll start first with those who are for, and 2 minutes each. You don't have to use the entire 2 minutes, and if someone has already said what you wanted to say, then just say ditto. And I will caution you, we're going to use a timer here, that if you go over the 2 minutes, you're taking away from someone else who is in your same category. And I'm doing this so that we can be mindful of the people's time that's here and also those that are on the phone. So we'll start with those who are in support. If you'll come to the table, those who are in support of Senate Bill 131. And then as people leave, just come in and fill in the seats, okay? Okay, and 30 minutes will start when the first person starts talking. Those of you who are in Las Vegas and in support, please come to the table as well. 30 minutes, 2 minutes, and if someone has already said what you want to say, then say ditto. And if you're not able to complete your entire testimony, you can always submit it, and it'll become a matter of record, and everyone will still see what you had to say. Okay? Thank you. So, yes, please begin.
Hi, my name is Dr. Sandra Koch. I'm the legislative chair for the Nevada Association of the American College of OBGYNs. And a practicing obstetrician in Nevada in Carson City since 1990. I chair Nevada's Maternal Mortality Review Committee. We review all maternal deaths in Nevada in order to learn how to prevent them. The most important tool to reduce the death rate for mothers is access to reproductive health care. Reproductive health care services are being denied to United States citizens in many states, both by laws to criminalize that care and by loss of access to providers of that care. It is not only appropriate, but I think it's necessary to reassure Nevadans that our state will not arrest any person within our state for receiving or providing care that is legal in Nevada. And I urge you to pass this legislation. Thank you.
Chair, members of the committee, my name is Lindsay Harmon, for the record, and I am representing Planned Parenthood Votes Nevada today. SB 131 is a critical piece of legislation that honors the people I am so proud to name my friends and my colleagues. When I reflect on where we've been over the last few years, I'm reminded of the heroes who worked countless hours, held the hands of loved ones when we couldn't be there, and who continue to give top quality care in spite of the intense pressure of a global pandemic. Healthcare providers in this country and in Nevada deserve our utmost respect and admiration. This bill does just that. It shows doctors that Nevada stands by them, that we see them as the professionals they are, and demonstrates that even in the aftermath of the U.S. Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade, Nevada understands the crucial role we play for those traveling to seek abortion care. As a state with a voter-affirmed right to abortion, we must explore every avenue we can to take and to protect reproductive freedom and to protect the healthcare professionals who provide it. SB 131 would protect the licensing of healthcare providers, explore licensing reciprocity, and prohibit the state from extraditing reproductive healthcare providers. This crucial legislation will also bar the state from participating in investigations into certain reproductive healthcare services. This bill is critically important, and we are so honored to show our support for this bill today as we stand with our Nevada healthcare providers.
Hello, Chair Spearman and committee members. I would just like to add on top of what my friend Lindsay said, that basically ditto, but I just want to add also that passing this bill will help to continue to solidify that we are here to help those in need that come from not only around the state of Nevada, but for those who come from out of state, and having them know that they are safe to receive the health care that they want or need. And I just also want to say that it is my hope that you guys will listen to the majority of Nevadans that do see reproductive health care, including the rights to an abortion, as a state-protected right, and that you all would include those coming from out of state to receiving an abortion, to make sure that Nevada does not participate in any way, shape, or form of prosecuting someone for receiving the health care that they choose to receive or need to receive, no matter who they are or for whatever reason they may receive it.
Thank you. Can you please state your name?
Oh, yes, sorry. Bill Simmons for the record. Sorry.
Yeah, can you spell, please?
BILLSIM as in Mary S.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Christine Saunders, and I'm the Policy Director with the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada, here in support of Senate Bill 131. At PLAN, we believe in the tenets of reproductive justice, the human right to maintain personal bodily autonomy, have children, not have children, and parent children we have in a safe and sustainable community. The National Black Women's Reproductive Justice Agenda states that that right can only be achieved when we have complete economic, social, and political power and resources to make healthy decisions about our bodies, our families, and our communities in all areas of our lives. Nevada voters overwhelmingly affirmed in 1990 this right to bodily autonomy and to choose to have an abortion in our state. Senate Bill 131 is a reiteration of Nevada voters' decision that no one shall be criminalized for seeking or providing abortion care in the state, regardless of where they are from. Anti-abortion politicians will not stop with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and we have seen attempts across the nation since then to further criminalize private healthcare decisions. As a state who has held up the right to abortion for my entire lifetime, it behooves this legislature to ensure we are not only protecting the rights of Nevadans to receive abortion care, but protect the data and privacy of anyone who seeks abortion care in our state. This is a necessary step to affirming Nevada's values of reproductive freedom and ensuring that access to abortion for out-of-state patients will continue uninterrupted no matter what bans other states enact. We urge your support. Thank you.
Hey, hold on. We're going to go to Las Vegas, and then we'll come back up here. Las Vegas?
Good morning, Chairwoman Spearman and members of the Senate Commerce and Labor Committee. For the record, my name is Donna West, D-O-N-N-A-W-E-S-T. I live in Senate District 21 in East Las Vegas. Thank you, Majority Leader Cannizzaro and the co-sponsors for bringing forward SB 131. I am in favor of this bill to codify the executive order from Governor Steve Sisolak to protect those seeking or providing abortion services in Nevada. In the early 1970s, in the days before Roe v. Wade, I was a teenager growing up in Pennsylvania. One of my older girlfriends found out she was pregnant. There was no legal abortion in our state at that time. Our friend saved our allowance and our lunch money, and we put our friend on a bus to New York to have her abortion. She was afraid to travel and have the procedure alone, but it was her choice. Today, I imagine the fear we would all have experienced if she and or her doctor were prosecuted for this legal medical procedure. Abortion is health care. People should be able to seek a legal abortion or any medical procedure without fear of arrest or prosecution. I urge your support of SB 131. Please vote yes on passage. Thank you.
Sarah Evans, S-A-R-A-E-V-A-N-S. Good morning, Chair Spearman and Vice Chair Lang and members of this committee. Thank you to Senator Carazano for this bill. I am a member of the Chapter National Organization for Women. I am here in support of SB 131. Since 1968, now members have supported and fought for accessible reproductive health care and LGBTQIA+ people. We ask that you support SB 131 to protect patients and providers and affirm Nevada values of reproductive freedom. In my role as a daytime employee at the Department of Family Services, I've worked directly with sex trafficking victims. I can tell you that this is very complex, and I agree with Senator Carazano that this red herring argument that it's going to cause more problems than harm is a fact. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Chairman Spearman and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mary Dungan, M-A-R-Y-D-U-N-G-A-N, and I'm here today as a resident of Las Vegas to voice my support for Senate Bill 131. This bill needs to be passed to codify the protections of our state patients and those who come here from other states to receive reproductive care, including abortion. I know personally how important this issue is. In 1976, I was a 19-year-old with a high school diploma and no marketable skills. I found myself in an abusive relationship and got pregnant. I knew it would be wrong and irresponsible of me to have a baby when I couldn't even take care of myself. I was terrified. Because of Roe, I was able to move ahead. I served my country for 10 years in the Air Force. I met the love of my life and have a son who is my greatest joy. I was only able to do this because of Roe. I was able to go back to college where I earned a bachelor's and a master's degree. And none of that would have been possible if I hadn't had access to safe and legal abortion. It is painful to me now that women have those rights taken away in many of the states in this country. I can still remember that time in my life as if it happened yesterday, and I can't understand why people want to force women to have babies when their circumstances are not right. I recall the recent testimony of a woman who was pregnant in 1969. She and her husband were excited to be parents, but the fetus died at 7 months. She was forced to carry and deliver a dead baby. As a mother, that makes me sick to my stomach. Some people call themselves pro-life, but what about women's lives? What about their circumstances? Doesn't that count? We all know that being married or being in a relationship is no guarantee that a child will be raised in a secure and loving home. To force a woman to have a child is barbaric and unconstitutional. No one has the right to tell a woman what to do with her own body. We cannot allow our governor to take away the reproductive rights of women.
Hello? Yeah, time's up. Can you submit the rest of it? Take one more from Las Vegas, and then we'll come back up to Carson City.
Good morning, Chair Spearman and members of the committee. My name is Lisa Lynn Chapman. It's spelled L-I-S-A, second name L-Y-N-N, last name Chapman, C-H-A-P as in Paul, M-A-N, and I'm here in strong support of SB 131. For 22 years, I was an advocate for victim survivors of intimate partner and sexual violence. While I've changed careers, I still provide expert testimony regarding victim behavior and provide technical assistance and training on a contract basis. During my career, some of the most memorable cases were victim survivors of domestic violence fleeing to Nevada in fear of their lives. Many of them were victims of ongoing rape and sexual violence by their partner or spouse and left when they found out they were pregnant. When they were finally in a safe place, many chose to have an abortion to ensure there would be no ties with their abuser or rapist. I also worked with some rape victims who found themselves pregnant. I still remember one survivor telling me that she would kill herself if she had to incubate the child of her rapist. To sentence anyone to 9 months of reliving their rape and having to forced to give birth is a cruel punishment for a victim. With the overturning of Roe versus Wade last year, many states have banned abortion, and some have going so far as to prosecute victims if they leave the state to access abortion care. The legislation before this committee will protect the victim survivors and Nevada providers who perform abortion services and I want to thank, most of all, the Senate Majority Canizano for bringing forward this bill. And I truly encourage this committee to vote in favor of this bill for all victim survivors. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll come back up to Carson City.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Darcy Johnson, D-A-R-C-Y, Johnson, the usual spelling. Some of you know me from my previous professional capacity here at LCB, but I'm here happily retired in my personal capacity as a private citizen. I'm in complete support of this bill, and I thank the Majority Leader for her leadership and her willingness to take this on. Although I'm both sad and horrified that legislation like this is necessary, I am very proud that our historic first in the nation female majority legislature is taking this action, especially since several of our neighboring states have laws that do not honor the reproductive rights of pregnant people. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Chair Spearman and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Tess Opferman, here on behalf of the Nevada Women's Lobby. Tess, T-E-S-S, Opferman, O-P-F-E-R-M-A-N. The Nevada Women's Lobby was established in 1989 to help represent the interests of women and families in the Nevada legislature. This includes our access to reproductive rights. Abortion has always been an intensely political matter and has become even more political over the last year. However, we ask this body to look past the politics and think of the interests of those who elected you. Nearly 70% of Nevadans support reproductive freedom, and as such, they voted to enshrine Roe v. Wade into state law over 2 decades ago. Nevadans have already made it clear how strongly we feel about protecting reproductive freedom. Now, we must pass SB 131 to ensure doctors have the protection to continue practicing reproductive health care in Nevada, and out-of-state individuals have necessary protection to come to Nevada for legal abortions. The Nevada Women's Lobby asks you to uphold the opinion of Nevada voters and pass SB 131. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Chair Spearman and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Haley Lindsley, and I am an organizer with Planned Parenthood Miramonte, and I want to thank the members of the committee for the opportunity to testify today. I'm here in solidarity with many other Nevadans who overwhelmingly support the right to access an abortion in support of SB 131. I'm a proud Nevadan, and I know that this bill is a necessary step to affirm Nevada's values of reproductive freedom while ensuring that access to abortions for out-of-state patients are uninterrupted, regardless of what other banned states enact. As a state that has long upheld the right to an abortion, it is incumbent upon lawmakers to ensure we are not only protecting the rights of Nevadans to receive abortion care, but protecting the data and privacy of anyone who seeks or provides abortion care in our state. Planned Parenthood health centers train their staff to screen for abuse and sex trafficking within our patient base and are mandated to report in those situations, and always prioritizes protecting our patients. In fact, SB 131 is about protecting our patients and our providers, and in order to receive the highest quality care, there must be no fear of prosecution or retaliation from other state governments. I urge you to support SB 131 because we know that every single state-level protection matters in this post-Roe world. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Sarah Watkins, and I represent the Nevada State Medical Association. The Nevada State Medical Association is in support of SB 131 due to the protections provided for physicians in this bill. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Chair Spearman and committee members. For the record, my name is Brianna Escamilla, and I am with Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains, which serves Colorado, New Mexico, and southern Nevada. Our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Christina Tossi, submitted written testimony in support of SB 131, and I want to share a couple of excerpts of that with you. She writes, "At Planned Parenthood of the Rocky Mountains, our patients are our top priority. We have seen firsthand the detrimental and cruel impact abortion bans have on pregnant people. In the 8 months after the fall of Roe, our health centers have seen thousands of out-of-state patients for abortion care, many who have traveled hundreds of miles by car or by plane for the first time in their life, requiring them to leave their support systems behind in order to access safe and legal abortion care in our region. For the first time in my medical career, I am tasked with taking patients' travel itineraries into account when moving forward with a care plan." She goes on to share a few examples of patients who needed to travel out of state to access abortion care and would need the protections of SB 131. Here are two of them. "I recently saw a patient with a diagnosis of aggressive recurrent cancer. Already a mother of a young daughter, she timed her second pregnancy to coincide with her cancer's remission. However, in her second trimester, the cancer returned, and immediate chemotherapy and radiation was the recommended treatment. However, she could not receive these interventions while pregnant. Unable to obtain abortion care in her home state, she traveled 13+ hours each way to access abortion care." A second example. "A couple in their 20s drove 17 hours each way to access abortion care. They made the trip without stopping and without their cell phones because they did not want to be tracked by family members. They commented to me that it was a tremendous relief to arrive in a safe haven state because along their drive they encountered multiple anti-abortion billboards. They were exhausted. Hopefully they made the return trip safely." The providers who serve these patients also need the protections of SB 131 as they provide essential abortion access. Patient health needs should drive all medical decisions, not the political agenda of lawmakers in other states. Patients and providers in Nevada must be able to provide and access care without fear of punishment and prosecution by other state governments. We urge you to support SB 131. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We've got 10 minutes now, and I'm going to go back down to Las Vegas, and then I'll come back up here to Carson City. And remember, if someone's already said what you wanted to say or something similar, it's okay to say ditto and then submit your testimony, okay?
Thank you, Chair Spearman. My name is Leanne McAllister, LeAnnMcAllister. I am the Executive Director of the Nevada chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics. The American Academy of Pediatrics supports the right of an adolescent to access an abortion to terminate an unintended pregnancy. Adolescents who are facing an unplanned pregnancy deserve access to medically accurate, unbiased, developmentally appropriate information about abortion and support in obtaining this care if they so choose. The AAP policy affirms that it is an adolescent's right to decide the outcome of their pregnancy and the people who should be involved. Pediatric health clinicians should encourage adolescents to engage their parents, caregivers, or a trusted adult in their decision-making around pregnancy and abortion. However, if adolescents choose not to do so, their decision should be respected. Thank you.
Good morning, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Carlos Calderon, CARLOS-CALDERON. I work as an organizer with Planned Parenthood Votes Nevada. I'm testifying today in support of SB 131. As an immigrant, I have seen and experienced firsthand how hard it is to overcome barriers like language, discrimination, racism, and now working with immigrants community, I'm seeing that we add another big barrier to the list, access to abortion and reproductive freedom, healthcare. I can imagine what people who are forced to leave their states to seek an abortion are going through. Having to stop their lives, finding money from wherever they to cover the cost, getting days off for work, or maybe risking losing their jobs, and possibly finding childcare for any of the children that they may have. We are lucky to live in a state that's committed to protecting the fundamental right, but this should not blind us from the pain of our neighbors in other states. The majority of Nevadans support the right of abortion. We saw that in the midterm election last year. That's why I urge you to support SB 131. Thank you for hearing my concern. I urge you to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me come back up to Carson City. I think we've got about 7 minutes.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Annette Magnus, and I'm the Executive Director of Battleborn Progress. We are here today in strong support of SB 131. Of all the issues I've had the privilege to work on in my career, this is the issue that is nearest to my heart. In Nevada, we value the rights and freedoms to make decisions about if or when we choose to have children. That includes the right and freedom to obtain an abortion without fear or judgment. When Roe v. Wade was overturned last year, many states, including those neighboring Nevada, swiftly moved to crack down on those rights of residents, outlawing or heavily restricting access to abortion. When that happened, I remembered thinking about how proud I was to live in a state like ours that overwhelmingly supports a person's right to choose. Naturally, that court decision led to people coming to Nevada to seek abortion care, where thankfully we still have our right to choose. We must continue to protect those traveling here and our local providers from legal harassment, criminalization, and refusing to cooperate with disgusting anti-abortion laws in other states. On a personal note, when I did this work years ago inside a health center, I met all kinds of people who had abortions. Many of them told me it saved their lives. I think of each one of them every time I speak on this issue. I will work on this issue until the day I die to ensure the young people coming behind me have access to this critical health care. It is no one's business what I or anyone else do with my body or their body. And how dare anyone trivialize these decisions that are made by people who can get pregnant. We want to thank Majority Leader Cannizzaro for her work on bringing this critical bill forward. Please pass SB 131.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Paul Catha, that's spelled C-A-T-H-A, and I represent the Culinary Workers Union Local 226. The Culinary Union supports Senate Bill 131. Thanks the Majority Leader for bringing it forward, and in the interest of time, we echo the comments of the other supporters.
Good morning, Chairman Spearman and committee members. For the record, my name is Daniela Reynolds, representing Planned Parenthood Votes Nevada as a volunteer and strong supporter of SB 131. Often I focus in on your role as elected officials to represent constituents, but there's something even more important that you've been entrusted with, and it's self-evident in your oath of office. It's to support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of Nevada. And so we trust you, and we thank you for showing up for us every day as Nevadans and for showing up for us in our country. We know that our Constitution says that all men are created equal and that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That liberty, by definition of the Constitution, is that individuals live under a system of laws designed to protect their property and shield them from unrestrained government control and abuse. In that vein, I urge you to pass SB 131, preventing the prosecution of patients and/or providers who provide reproductive health care, including the right and ability to seek abortion regardless of their state of residency or a Nevada medical provider from criminal prosecution. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Serena Evans. I'm the Policy Director for the Nevada Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence. Reproductive freedom is not just a conversation about choice, it is also a conversation about safety. For victim survivors of domestic and sexual violence, access to reproductive health care is essential for their safety planning and their ability to break free from an abuser, which is why I'm here today in strong support of Senate Bill 131. Oftentimes, victim survivors of intimate partner violence experience some form of reproductive coercion. If a victim survivor should find themselves pregnant by their abuser, access to safe reproductive health care services is an important tool for their safety planning. For many victim survivors, relocating to or seeking care in another state is often part of their overall safety planning, which is strategically mapped out. It is bone-chilling to think that a victim survivor who relocated to or traveled to Nevada to seek reproductive health services could be prosecuted, along with the doctor who provided those services. We have a duty to protect patients, medical providers, and the overall autonomy of reproductive choice. Senate Bill 131 is necessary for ensuring those seeking reproductive health care are safe to do so, in addition to serving as a tool for violence prevention. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go down to Las Vegas, and then I'll come back up. Las Vegas?
Good morning, Chairman Spearman, and the members of the committee. For the record, my name is Aaron Rook, E-R-I-N-R-O-O-K, and I live in Senate District 3, and I'm here to testify in support of Senate Bill 131. As a queer and transgender survivor of intimate violence and as an advocate for equitable access to health care, I urge you to support this bill. It is not enough for Nevada to ensure that its residents have access to abortion and related reproductive health care services. We must ensure that no one is criminalized for accessing or providing this care, no matter what state the patient comes from. States that seek to limit access to abortion are often the same states that restrict access to gender-affirming care, making this assurance of safe access to health care particularly vital to trans and non-binary people. It is also particularly important for survivors of intimate violence who may be fleeing dangerous situations in another state. To allow visitors to be criminalized for accessing care that has been made illegal in another state would be cruel and frankly hypocritical, especially for a state whose economy revolves around activities that are illegal in other states. Senate Bill 131 will affirm the value Nevadans place in freedom and reassure residents and visitors alike that their rights are protected here. Thank you, Senate Majority Leader Canizaro, for your leadership, and to the committee for your consideration.
Members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Sarah, and I am in support of SB 131. As a woman, I feared the worst for my bodily autonomy when Roe fell. But as a person who grew up in Las Vegas, I've always been proud of the way my state passes legislation that represents my best interest. After the executive order, I knew that the people I helped elect had no intention of infringing upon my rights and the rights of others. However, that isn't the case for patients who come to Nevada for abortion care. I hope the legislator will stand in solidarity with those patients and the vast majority of Nevadans who support reproductive freedom and become a leader in this fight for essential health care in the United States. I urge you to support SB 131 for the good of the millions of people who now have to travel to states like Nevada for basic health care and depend on laws like this to protect them. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Can you say and spell your last name, please?
Rojas, R-O-J-A-S.
Thank you. We're running out of time, so remember, if they've already said it, just say ditto. Okay, thank you.
Hey there. Firstly, thank you. My name is Stephen Good, S-T-E-V-E-N-G-O-O-D-E. Just another Nevadan, and I'm here to testify in support of Senate Bill 131. As you all know, it'll protect both the patients who come from out of state and the healthcare providers who they come here to see. Both of these groups deserve to feel safe, and that can be accomplished with this bill. The passage of this bill will affect more than those who are explicitly referred to, because what impacts one of us will impact all of us. It'll affect the friends and families of those who will be protected by this bill. I myself, like many others, have friends and family who've received health care that in other states, if given the chance, would have been persecuted for them. Our state should not comply with this persecution and take a stand to protect its people, and it can do so with the passage of this bill. Thank you for having me here today, and once again, I implore you to consider supporting this bill.
Thank you. I'm going to come back up to Carson City, and we have 1 minute and 25 seconds.
Good morning, Chair, committee members. My name is Erica Roth, R-O-T-H, on behalf of the Washoe County Public Defender's Office. I'm here to testify in favor of SB 131 and offer my perspective as a criminal defense attorney who has seen firsthand how long-arm criminal statutes in other states sweep residents of this state into criminal prosecutions in other states. This bill seeks to protect both providers, people seeking abortions, and all of the activists and groups who seek to provide additional services to those people, and we are here to testify in support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alexander Marks with the Nevada State Education Association. I can't say it better than my colleagues, so I won't. Ditto. We are in full support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. I am Amber Falgout, A-M-B-E-R-F-A-L-G-O-U-T. I live in SD15. I will say ditto to everything that everyone has said, but I will also say that I am incredibly grateful for Nevada because as a mother, my children will not have the right to an abortion, and I think that we need to protect all of the people coming here. And I have been through every stage of the reproductive journey, from miscarriage to abortion to 2 full kids. And I am grateful for the ability to choose because it allowed me to have my latest son, who is my whole world. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you if you're in support, just say ditto because we're all out of time. Okay.
John Pirro from the Clark County Public Defender's Office. We support this measure. Thank you.
Lilith Barron, Policy Manager for the ACLU of Nevada. We support this measure. Thank you.
Thank you. For those who did not get a chance to testify, please make sure you submit your testimony. It'll become a matter of record. Broadcast, I want to go to the phone now, and we're going to take 10 minutes for the people who are on the phone. And remember, if someone has already said what you want to say, it's okay to say ditto so you can get more people an opportunity to talk about what they wanted to do. So, broadcast, anyone on the phone?
If you would like to testify in support of SB 131, please press *9 now or raise hand in your Zoom window.
Broadcast, is anyone there?
Caller with the last digits of 258, please press *6 now to unmute yourself.
Broadcast, let's go to the next caller.
Good morning, Chair Spearman and members of the...
Yeah, proceed.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Chair Spearman and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Quentin Savoy. That's Quentin. Last name S like Sam, A like Apple, V like Victor, WOIR. In the interest of time, I agree with my colleagues. We are in full support at the NAACP of Las Vegas of SB 131. Thank you.
Broadcast, anyone else?
Good morning.
Proceed.
Good morning, Chairman Spearman and members of the committee. My name is John Phoenix. My preferred name is Rob, and I do not have a pronoun preference, and I'm an advanced practice registered nurse. And I'm here today representing the president of the Nevada Advanced Practice Registered Nurse Association and our members in support of SB 131. I'm also here representing my clinic, which is the Huntridge Family Clinic, which is the largest provider of LGBTQ affirming care in the state of Nevada. We are providers of sexual health, reproductive health, and wellness, and we stand in support as well. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Asma Baloch, ASMABALOCH. I'm a first-year student at the University of Nevada, Reno, Vice President of Planned Parenthood Generation Action on campus, and I'm here today to support the Senate Bill 131. Persecuting those who travel to Nevada to seek help in regards to their reproductive rights is not only unjust, but it's unconstitutional. We praise that men and women are created equal, but is it really equality when the law prohibits women to seek private health care when it comes to their own body? Where women from low-income families that cannot feed themselves or suffer from domestic violence are forced to bring a child into this world because if they decide not to, they are punished for their right to choose. With Roe versus Wade being overturned, it's time to look at our reproductive rights with a critical lens. I urge you to consider supporting SB 131 because this is the first step to take back our right to privacy and our right to choose. Thank you for your time.
Hello, good morning. Could you all hear me?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and the rest of the committee. My name is Dora Martinez, DORA-MARTINEZ. As you all may know by now, I hardly make notes or prepare speeches. I do speak from experience, and I am an advocate, Nevada Disability Peer Action Coalition advocate. I agree with the prior callers, and thanks to Senator Nicole Cannizzaro for this. everybody, and especially people with disability, are also a victim. As you may all know, and I heard it from the TV and a lot of Twitters that I get, that foster care system is in dire need of people to help. And if we do not pass this bill, people are going to continue to have unwanted babies, and that is sad for the generation. And so please support SB 131, and thank you so much for all that you do. Have a great day.
If you recently just joined us and you would like to testify in support of SB 131, please press *9 now or raise hand in your Zoom window. Caller with the last three digits of 490, you may proceed.
Hello, my name is Cyrus Ojadi, and I support this bill. Do you know why? Who is more likely to get abortion? Non-white. That's right. And if we have more of these abortions, there will be fewer non-whites out there. And that means less crime and less welfare, and more likely that European Americans will likely to stay a majority. Could you imagine about the crime rate would have been if we didn't have Roe versus Wade? And please, if you can, advertise and put clinics, particularly in non-white neighborhoods. Thank you so much, and God bless European Americans.
Again, if you've recently just joined us, we are in testimony in support of SB 131. If you would like to testify in support, please press *9 now or raise hand in your Zoom window. Chair, you have no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone who testified in support. And remember, if you did not get a chance to complete your testimony, please submit it in writing, and it will still become a matter of record. I'm going to go now to those in opposition, and I'll start here in Carson City. And if there's anyone in Las Vegas, will you please come to the table now? And we'll try to move this as rapidly as possible. And again, if someone has already said what you want to say, it's okay to say ditto. That way more of your colleagues can get a chance to at least say their name. So please proceed. Carson City.
Good morning, Madam Chairman and members of the committee. Melissa Clement, Nevada Right to Life. Nevada Right to Life is opposed to SB 131 because it's a threat to minors and to women. Nevada has no requirement for parental consent or notification for an underage girl seeking an abortion. In Nevada, a young girl can't get Tylenol at school without parental consent, but that same girl, even if she's 9 or 10 years old, can get an abortion without a parent even knowing. Arizona, Utah, and Idaho all have robust parental consent laws. Who transports a child over the border for a secret abortion? Child sex traffickers and predators who have abused a child and hope to eliminate the evidence of the abuse are just two classes that utilize our lenient laws. Under SB 131, Nevada will not cooperate in the prosecution of those who traffic children over the border to Nevada's complicit clinics. Parents all over the United States should be concerned, as girls as young as 9 or 10 shouldn't be coerced, shouldn't be taken over the border without their parents' knowledge. I wanted to address abortion tourism. Already, Planned Parenthood is looking to cash in on women's heartbreak by offering fly-in abortions. Fly to Reno, catch a shuttle to the abortion clinic, and fly home. From the website, Planned Parenthood Marmonte stated, our new flagship health center will be 8,400 square feet. It will have increased space for abortion service at a convenient location near the Reno airport for our out-of-state patients. Seeking to take advantage of the barely over-the-border abortion mill, Planned Parenthood has planned for West Wendover. Again, this is marketed to as close to the border to take advantage of our laws. SB 131 threatens the ability of any healthcare licensing board to disqualify unsafe abortionists from practicing in Nevada. Section 1, Sub 1 of the bill seems to advantage abortion providers over other doctors. Medical licensure boards should be free to consider penalties and license revocations from other states, regardless of the type of medicine practice. Thank you.
Thank you. Remember, 2 minutes, 2 minutes.
Madam Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Janine Hansen. I'm the state president of Nevada Families for Freedom. I live 10 miles east of Elko and 99 miles west from West West Wendover. On March 7th, West Wendover City Council will have a public hearing about Planned Parenthood building a facility in their community next to the post office. The Planned Parenthood abortion clinic will make West Wendover a destination location for abortions, especially from Salt Lake, which is just 122 miles away. It's a very tragic day when Nevada stoops to encouraging businesses that promote the killing of the innocent unborn. In Nevada, there is no parental notification or consent law. This puts underage girls at risk of abuse because there is no one to advocate for them or protect them. In other states, like Utah, parental consent is required. These laws protect a child from predators who will force their underage victim to get an abortion to hide their crimes. SB 131 eliminates the ability of Nevada to help other states prosecute these predators. This makes Nevada a sanctuary for predators like sex traffickers who will take underage girl over the border to get an abortion. I don't believe these concerns were ever adequately answered. Women and girls are often the second victims of abortion. Do we care about these potential victims? Do we care if we are facilitating predators like sex traffickers? Abortion is a big business for Planned Parenthood. This bill will also attract abortionists from all over the country to Nevada whose clinics may close because of the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, so states can now pass their own laws. Will our health department be able to check their record? Please oppose SB 131. Protect the innocent women, children, and babies.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. Bob Russo. For the record, I oppose Senate Bill 131. There are several aspects of this bill that are troubling to me. First, since this bill appears to prohibit the Healthcare Licensing Board from disqualifying unsafe abortionists from practicing in Nevada, it will not only attract those less than qualified to perform abortions, but it will significantly risk the safety of young women and girls who, out of fear, rush to Nevada to get an abortion. As we know, minors can get an abortion in Nevada without parental knowledge or consent. This will make Nevada an attractive abortion destination for runaway and confused girls and young women who will grow up to regret the decision they made if they make it that far. It also appears that child traffickers and pedophiles would be sheltered from the law under this bill. This will allow them to force and coerce underage girls who they violated in other states to come to Nevada for an abortion, posing as their assistants. Regrettably, this bill capitalizes on the abortion industry at the obvious expense of the lives of the unborn and the fear and angst of young children and adolescents. What they really need is compassion, understanding, and support so they can process their situation rationally and make a wholesome decision, not a quick fix at an abortion clinic. So I ask you to please put the needs of our youth ahead of profits for the abortion industry and the shielding of sex traffickers and pedophiles, and oppose this troublesome bill. Thank you very much.
Hold on, I'm going to go down to Las Vegas and then I'll come back up to Carson City.
Hi, good morning. My name is Kendall Malcolm. I am from the Senate District 11. I am speaking for myself. I agree with the previous speakers, and I would like to add that the abortion industry is not safe. It is not regulated the way it should be. It is encouraging the hurt and the pain of young women going through horrible situations. And I think it horribly disregards the right to life that many young children are being denied every single day. And it's heartbreaking, and I think we should all be ashamed of ourselves for allowing this to happen for so long. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Hillary Ramos, HILARYRAMOS. I'm a mom of 5 who's here to implore you to vote no on SB 131. I do not have a powerful organization behind me or a union, but an army of moms and citizens who stand in solidarity to protect underage victims. I've lived in the Vegas Valley since January 2000. Back then, it was known only as Sin City. On October 1st, 2017, that changed. A deranged person terrorized our city. We became Vegas stronger. God brought together a real community out of that. The country asked, how could that behavior leading up to that event have been allowed? Why was a blind eye turned and a monster was allowed free and unlimited access? We learned so much. Hotel policies changed, planning changed. We know better, we do better. What does that have to do with SB 131? By voting no, Nevada can be known as the state that protects children. Can we sit by knowing that if this bill passes, nefarious actors will abuse it? When the country would find out what is happening, they would say, who allowed this? Who turned a blind eye? I am not here to testify against abortion or refusing access to medical care for young women. I am testifying that this will be, not might be, will be abused by sex traffickers. Stand with children. Stand for protection of the minors who will be abused and brought into our state to get abortions, then return to the streets if this bill passes. First in the nation, female-led majority. We're so proud of that. I implore you to vote no on the passage of SB 131. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Norma Skurlock, S-C-U-R-L-O-C-K, and I'm here to speak on SB 131. Did you know that our President Joe Biden said he's bringing illegals here because we as a people are not producing enough children? Why are we still pushing abortions? How many abortions have happened over the last 5, 10, 20 years? Almost 3,000 babies a day are being murdered in our country. Why aren't we promoting family instead of death? SB 131, the murdering bill, will allow pimps, sex traffickers to bring 9-year-old little girls here to kill their babies with little or no aftercare. It will cost us not only the lives of our babies, but it will cost us the life of our children. Parents also don't have the right to protect their little girls or grandchildren. Do we want to be known as the murdering state? God wants us to protect life. Murder is a sin. Joe Lombardo, veto this if it gets to you. Stand up for life, protect our children, and may God help us all. Thank you.
Just a minute, ma'am. You made a statement. Hello, ma'am. Before you leave, you made a statement. Your opening statement was that President Biden said something. Is that fact or opinion?
That is fact.
Okay,
That is fact. You can look it up.
Okay,
He
no,
said
no,
we
no,
are
no,
not
no,
producing
ma'am.
it.
Hello, no, ma'am. As I said at the beginning,
Yes,
if
sir.
it's fact, you will have to provide evidence that it is. And so will you please leave your name and telephone number with someone there in Las Vegas and make sure that we get that information so that can become a matter of record. If it's fact, then bring the proof. If it's opinion, then that's your opinion. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
And your name is?
Thank you.
Your name?
Norma Skurlock. Norma Skurlock. S-C-U-R-L-O-C-K.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good morning,
So-
Chairman and members of the committee.
Yeah. Oh. All right. We'll come back up to Carson City.
Madam Chairman, I'm Don Nelson. I represent Nevada Right to Life. We oppose SB 131. Abortion is not health care nor a human right because it kills an innocent human being with an unalienable right to life. It is well known that 70 pro-life leaders and organizations have stated that we will not support prosecution of aborting women. It didn't happen before Roe. It will not happen now that Roe is down in flames. We disagree that some states would prohibit treatment of ectopic pregnancies or miscarriages. Doctors do not need to be afraid of them. There is a clear difference between abortion on demand and ectopic pregnancies, miscarriages, and efforts to save the life of the mother, and abortion advocates know it. Life Action News says that Planned Parenthood scrubbed the following language from their website. Treating an ectopic pregnancy isn't the same thing as getting an abortion. Abortion is a medical procedure that, when done safely, ends a pregnancy that's in your uterus. Ectopic pregnancies are outside of your uterus, usually in the fallopian tubes, and are removed with a medicine called methotrexate or a laparoscopic surgical procedure. The medical procedures for abortions are not the same as the medical procedures for an ectopic pregnancy. That's what Planned Parenthood said. In her article, How Every State Pro-Life Law Handles Ectopic Pregnancy and Miscarriage, Alexandra DeSantis says that, quote, if doctors are doing so, that is, failing to treat women with ectopic pregnancies and miscarriages or when their life is in danger, and abortion supporters have offered little evidence of systematic problem in this regard, it is the fault of the doctors themselves, not the fault of pro-life laws, which are eminently clear. There have been undercover phone and other campaigns that show abortion clinics do not report suspicions of statutory rape. This will have the effect of making Nevada a haven for those who would cover up and continue their abuse of girls that other states have worked to
Thank you,
mitigate.
sir. Yep.
Thank you.
You present the rest of your testimony in writing, okay? Yes, proceed.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee. My name is Lynn Chapman, and I'm the state treasurer of the Independent American Party. Home means Nevada, and I'm wondering about that now. I've been in Nevada since 1984. It's a beautiful state, wide open spaces, fishing, hunting, camping, swimming, all the fun things and that people want for their families to do here. When I speak to people now about Nevada, they're telling me it means gambling, prostitution, smoking dope openly, and the state with the most sex trafficking, especially of our children. And now we will be the destination for abortions in the United States. When you have businesses coming to Nevada and bringing jobs, sometimes they bring employees with them. I wonder if the employees are going to know that when their children go to the schools here, that the parents will not be notified or their consent is not needed for some surgeries done to their children. Do you think people want to move here and know that their children and grandchildren are at a higher risk for sex trafficking? We should be making more attempts at protecting our women and children, but this bill does not do that. There are so many dangerous situations in the world today, so maybe we should be looking to decrease them in our state instead of adding to them. And by the way, abortion was always illegal and much longer than 50 years. Shame on Nevada if this bill passes. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go back down to Las Vegas, and then I'll come back up here. And ma'am, I'm sorry for cutting you off. I was trying to say after you, but please continue.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Celeste Parks, Celesparks. First and foremost, I am Christian, saved by Jesus Christ. I am also a registered nurse in the city of Las Vegas, and I'm currently studying for my doctorate in women's health, and I oppose SB 131. Every moment I enter into the hospital, I witness the value and sanctity of life. I believe every person is created in God's image and every life is worth being honored. Nurses around the nation pledge to provide the best, safest, most humane care to all patients. We are given a code of ethics to abide by in our daily nursing care, which shows no partiality. The four main principles are autonomy, beneficence, justice, non-maleficence. Non-maleficence, is argued to be one of the most important, which is to do no harm. The principle of this ethic places a responsibility to the nurse to report treatment options that are causing significant harm to a patient. As a prudent RN, I am obligated to make you aware of the quote-unquote treatment that is causing catastrophic harm and death on an entire people group. It is undisputable, biological, been proven, human life begins at the moment of fertilization. Effective of November 22nd, 2022, the people voted in Article 1, Section 24, equal of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the state of any of its political subdivisions on the account of race, color, creed, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, age, disability, ancestry, or national origin. SB 131 has breached both the Nevada Constitution about allowing the unjust killing of innocent life in the womb and the Equality of Rights Bill by denying the rights of a person because of their age. All life without exception must have equal protection according to with God's holy word and the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. God established a standard of value through which life itself has value.
Thank you,
God
ma'am.
has
Your
given
time
these
is up.
high
Can you,
seats
hello,
in our
ma'am?
state.
Ma'am, yeah, your time's up. Can you submit the rest of your testimony, please? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Kinsley, Kinsley. I'm here representing my children's advocate. I've been a resident of Las Vegas for over 40 years, and I just would like to point out some things that everyone else, I would like to add ditto. Legal does not mean moral. So just because it's legal to have abortions here doesn't mean it's right or moral. Planned Parenthood was founded with the intention of killing black and brown people, which they succeeded because the black population would be double what it is today if Planned Parenthood had never been founded. You guys are doing a great job making Margaret Sanger's dreams come true by eradicating black people. And I would also like to add, being in Vegas as long as I had and watching the legislation fail tremendously with COVID, thinking a mask is going to stop a virus, that's mentally hindered. Thinking that the experimental jab was going to save people, mentally hindered. Yet I had to do that to you had to try to get people vaccinated to go to a restaurant. Obviously, I never participated in that. So I would like to say, who's buying back these baby parts? Because the U.S. government buys back most of the aborted baby parts from Planned Parenthood. So I didn't see Vegas hopping on a cancer tourism trend or a BBL trend. So why are we, how much money are you guys making off abortions? Who's buying back those baby parts? Because Sleepy Joe said he was going to cure cancer in his first term. I don't see that happening. The bill did not get this far without license being in there. So let's all talk about that and how unhealthy that is. Nevada already has a super low bar on to practice medicine. So why are we trying to lower that bar for abortionists so that they can kill babies easier without less persecution? Let's get over that. Basically, abortion in 2023 is just a representation of a woman making poor life choices. It's 2023. You get pregnant 1 week out of the month. There's over 40 types of birth control. You get to say who
Thank you,
have
ma'am.
sex with
Hello,
and
ma'am.
who you don't.
Ma'am,
If you're
hello.
choosing men that are
Your
beating
2 minutes
and
is
don't
up.
have a job,
Hello,
that's your
ma'am.
fault for picking
Ma'am,
who's
hello,
procreate.
hello. 2 minutes is up, but
I'm so
before
sorry.
yeah, okay, I am too. So before you leave, I said at the opening, I don't know if you were here, but you can state
Yeah,
your opinion.
this is well documented.
Okay,
You have-
hello. Thank you. I'm the chair here, okay? So let me talk. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So when you state something, if it's your opinion, that's one thing. If you're going to
not my
state something as fact, then you have to bring proof. So I'm going to give you 48 hours, just like I did the other person, 48 hours to bring the proof. I'm not going to look it up because I didn't
About
state
what?
it as
That
fact.
Margaret Sanger founded Planned Parenthood to
Your
kill black
testimony,
people, or
ma'am.
that the
And
black
so,
population is
hello,
twice what it is?
hello,
Or that COVID
hello.
I'm trying to ask what you
Well,
want-
okay, and
what
if you
want me to
will
bring
be
back.
quiet, you will hear me, okay?
Okay, let me
All
hear
right? So I'm talking now.
Okay, I'm listening.
You made a couple of statements and said that there are these things that are happening. If that is your opinion, you have a right to your opinion. If it is fact,
specify
then
what you're speaking
bring that information forward. Anyone, and I'll
Please
say
be
again, as I
specific.
said at the beginning, please, thank you.
Please be specific. Well,
I
you didn't ask
need
for
you-
anyone to prove
hello?
that
Okay,
abortions
so,
are healthy,
hello?
because That's a red herring right there.
Hello?
That's an oxymoron. This is why
Excuse
we
me.
say Democrats
You're
are
taking
black
up time from
genocide.
everyone else, and so if you don't want anyone else to testify on this, then keep talking. Okay? So I need everyone to understand this, and this is why I said it in the beginning. I don't really care which side you're on. If you're going to state something as fact, you must bring evidence. You must bring evidence. Someone previously said they were working on their doctoral degree. You can't even write something for an article unless you bring evidence. We're not going to look it up. If you state it as fact, you must bring evidence. NRS 218E.085 states that if you make a statement knowingly that it is not fact, that it is a misdemeanor. And so let me be clear. You can say whatever you want to as your opinion. You cannot say your opinion as fact unless you can back it up with evidence, okay? That's for anybody. That's for anybody. Anyone who has stated something during this time, whether you're support or opposition, if you stated something as fact, You have 48 hours to present the proof. Otherwise, we will strike that from the testimony. Because this is, you consider yourself, we didn't put your hand on the Bible, but consider yourself under oath when you come to that table. It is a misdemeanor, okay? Now, I'll add back 4 minutes, but I should take it away because the other person did not understand that I am the chair and I am in charge, and when I'm talking, you don't talk. I'm giving you an opportunity, but I'm not going to be argumentative with anyone, all right? Are we clear? Thank you. Las Vegas, proceed.
Hello, my name is Lorena Cardenas with My Children's Advocate. Already, minors can walk into an abortion clinic without parental consent and have an abortion, prime ground for pedophiles. Already, we have destination abortions, marketing abortions like spa packages. Now you want to add more provisions to further entice people to seek abortions in our state for profit. This isn't a casino where you're profiting from tourists betting on table games. You're profiting from women lying on tables and playing God with the lives of their children. Are you ready to see satanic temples popping up all over Nevada? When you drive by statues of demons outside of a church, are you ready to look your family in the face and tell them, you did that? You actively aided in that? Because the satanic temple just announced they will be opening abortion clinics to exercise their freedom of religion and sacrifice babies in rituals to Satan. And you're rolling out the welcome mat for them to do it here in Nevada. This weekend, 2 young women got into an argument at a grocery store parking lot. One of them shot and killed the other one in front of her 2 small children. There is no value for life. What's happening in our country is a tragedy. The moral compass is gone, and you're perpetuating a desensitized society that your own children will grow up in. How do you not see the danger in that? Stop trying to create laws that will entice abortionists to come here by forbidding healthcare boards to disqualify them for malpractice. Stop facilitating abortions, period. Force women to be responsible and stop using abortion as birth control. Stop making our state the abortion mecca of America. Babies are paying the price today, but those who aided in this barbaric act of dismembering babies will pay the price tomorrow. God exists. Thank you.
Come back up here to Carson City.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm here. My name is, for the record, my name is Elisheba Delote, Elisheba Delote, and I'm a registered nurse working in surgery, and I am representing a member of Love Life movement and as well as a member of White Rose movement. I just want to speak in behalf of all the voiceless and unprotected kids who are unborn kids, that they need protection as well. And I vetoed the statement about the age earlier, and I know this is a moral issue, and I here to ask of you to look into your morals, to look into your heart, that this is not a political, and I agree this is not a political issue, but this is a moral issue. And I urge to all the medical doctors to look back and remember what they, what the oath is, the Hippocratic Oath. And I'm going to read from the ancient Hippocratic Oath from Hippocrates himself. I will do no harm or injustice to them, neither will I administer a poison to anybody when asked to do so, nor will I suggest such a course. Similarly, I will not give to a woman a pessary to cause abortion, but I will keep pure and holy both my life and my art. So I just want to reiterate that, because I feel like, in my opinion, this bill that I highly oppose, SB 131, is a license for murder, a license for medical surgeons to do at will, whatever age or birth, and the state of Nevada will be a monetary murder for the unborn kids.
Excuse me, ma'am.
So,
submit your rest of your testimony in writing. Your time's up. Coming back up here to Carson City, everyone in Las Vegas, please stand fast. And let me just ask, I know that we have security in Las Vegas. I will not tolerate anyone else getting so out of order, and so security, if they cannot listen, then ask them to leave the building. Everyone has a right to speak, but no one has a right to take up someone else's time and become unruly. Thank you. Carson City.
Good morning. Joy Trushenski, Trushenski, for the record. I oppose 131. It is a dangerous bill as it eliminates the ability of a healthcare licensing board to disqualify unsafe abortionists from practicing in Nevada, leaving women at the mercy of money-hungry hacks. But this will make Planned Parenthood happy, as Planned Parenthood's only reason for existence is abortion of unborn babies. I oppose SB 131 as it will make Nevada a destination for hack abortionists, sex traffickers, and pedophiles, forcing girls to get an abortion without parental consent. Also, we should not leave God, who supports life, out of the equation. I've read there is a 8,000 square foot state-of-the-art abortion facility in Reno near the airport. This is very alarming to me. I do not want Nevada to be known as an abortion destination. I support life choices, support teaching abstinence in our schools, not pornographic sex education in our schools, personal responsibility, promoting birth control other than abortion, and make harsher laws against sex traffickers and pedophiles. Other states are doing these things and limiting abortion, not expanding abortion as in Nevada. Please vote no on SB 131. Thank you.
Good morning. Richard Nagel for the record, Richard Nagel. Washington Irving once said that villainy wears so many masks, but none so dangerous as the mask of virtue. We have to really take a look at this and see what it does and what impact it has. I mean, the medical industrial complex got up here and said how wonderful it was and what it's going to do and how great it is, but I think that there's a real dark side that's not addressed in this bill. I mean, it could be called Epstein's bill, because it does enable pedophiles to bring people across state lines. I think that we should really take a look at this. Maybe it needs to be rewritten to stop stuff like that. But again, we have a duty to protect the innocent. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chairman Spearman. My name is Scott Johnston, citizen lobbyist. My last name is spelled Johnston. I oppose SB 131 directly from its first sentence, prohibiting healthcare licensing boards and disqualifying licensors or disciplining. That there, for me, makes this not a good bill for Nevada. Ditto on this predator and sex trafficking in Nevada. I think that's been very well covered. And we do have laws in place today to take care of all these situations. Nobody's going to be prosecuted for coming to Nevada for health care. Thank you.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to go down to Las Vegas, and then I'll come back up to Carson City. Las Vegas?
Hi, Madam Chair. Thank you for letting us speak. My name is Grace Trujillo, and I'm a mother of 3, and I'm also a nurse for 20 years, and I've been in the field in front and have seen and advocated for child abuse and have helped thousands of women and families who have been illegally trafficked here and tried to find them some resources. I believe I speak in my opinion as well as the opinion of my God, Yahweh, that I believe in life, and I disagree in SB 131, and I hope that you guys could consider in your heart that if it's this bill really for Nevadans, if this really benefits us, or if this benefits the pockets of other people. Please consider the voiceless and consider what the ramification when you pass this bill, because it's not really gonna protect the women and it's not really gonna protect the little kids. And I pray that you in your heart, whether you believe in God or not, that you will look into your heart that this does not really provide for us benefits. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Spearman and committee members. My name is Janann Logan, Logan. Ditto to everything that has been said so far. I would like to add that as a safety professional, I am a flight attendant, and in these friendly skies, SB 131 will create an unsafe environment for Nevadans and our visitors. Please do not support this bill. Please do not make me bring criminals into our state. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Kelly Quinn. I'd like to provide comment in opposition of SB 131. First of all, what problem is SB 131 trying to solve? It appears that most of the bill is concerned with the actions happening in other states, or at least ignoring those actions. This bill severely limits and restricts Nevada's licensing boards and regulators. But the U.S. Constitution in Article 4 simply requires that each state must fully accept the public acts, records, and court actions of every other state. This bill does not honor the other states' authorities. So as a former regulator under 2 boards of health in Nevada, I'm concerned with the reciprocity aspects of this bill. In sections 1, 2, and 3, as an investigator must have the ability to evaluate reciprocity applicants in order to protect the people of Nevada, as per our mission statement. This bill restricts staff from even making an inquiry about an applicant. They can't send written requests, they can't send an email, staff can't even pick up the phone and call another state agency about the applicant. This makes Nevada a dumping ground for practitioners who have not been properly vetted. Section 1 states in part that a licensing board shall not disqualify from licensure because of judgment, discipline, or other sanction of another state. Why not? We should be able to do that. Section 2 states in part that the governor shall not surrender, issue a warrant, or arrest for any person charged in another state with the criminal violation of the other state. This does not protect the people of Nevada, and it brings up the extradition issues that Senator Stone brought up earlier, which I ditto. Section 3 states in part, a state agency shall not provide any information, any use of time, any money, facility, property, equipment, or personnel. And the personnel shall not provide any other resource in furtherance of any investigation or proceeding initiated by another state.
Excuse me,
This
sir.
again does not prevent
Excuse me, sir. Your
the people
time
of
is up,
Nevada.
and will you please submit the rest of your testimony in writing? And I'm looking at the clock, and we are out of the 30 minutes, but I will hope that those of you who are here in Carson City, if you would just state your name and say ditto, because I want to go to the phones as well. Okay? Thank you.
Betsy Strasburg, I oppose BEPSYSTRASBURG. I oppose SB 131, and I ditto all the other people. The one thing that I would like to emphasize is that the laws of our state should be respected just
you.
like other states. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so ditto, there are people on the telephone, and if you all don't comply, they won't have enough time. So I'm just trying to make this fair to everybody, okay? So, yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Karen Stevens, STEPHENS.
Is your microphone on?
Oh, there we are. Karen Stevens, STEPHENS, and I'm a grandmother. I believe in life, so I strongly oppose SB 131. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am.
My name is Marianne, Mariann Humphrey, HUMPHREY. I oppose SB 131. I'm a Catholic. I'm a mom. I'm a grandma, a grandmother, and
Thank you.
I oppose it
Thank
all.
you. Thank you. Last one.
Oh, ditto.
Last one. Yeah, ditto. Thank you.
Good morning. Renee Resentis, REZENTES. Thank you for this hearing. I just want to
Ditto?
share. No,
Okay, because we have people on the phone, and if you
Okay,
all don't...
well, then
yeah,
I'll wait.
Okay, yeah, you all, if you take time, you can submit that in writing, and your testimony will still become a matter of record, okay?
We're going to be able to speak again?
No, ma'am, we're all out of time right now. Well,
Okay.
okay, I had 30 minutes for each side, and that we're over 30 minutes for this side, okay?
Okay.
So,
All right.
thank you, okay, thank you. Broadcast, let's go to the phones. And while they're doing that, let me just explain to everyone, some of you may be new to the legislature. We usually have floor at 11 o'clock, in which we discuss and delineate bills that are coming up, and we're going to be beyond 11 when we go there. That's okay, but we also have committees that meet at 1 o'clock, and so we have to keep to a very strict time limit, and that's why I said 30 minutes per side, so that everyone gets a chance to speak. And if you remember, when I started, I said, if you take more than your 2 minutes, then somebody else behind you is not going to be able to speak. And if people have already said what you want to say, it's okay to say ditto and submit your testimony. It still becomes a matter of record. You just don't read it into the microphone, but it still becomes a matter of record. Broadcast, do we have anyone on the phone?
Thank you, Chair. If you would like to speak in opposition of SB 131, please press *9 now or raise hand in your Zoom window.
Hello, my name is Alita Benson, Executive Director of the Nevada Republican Party, testifying in opposition to Senate Bill 131 on behalf of the Nevada Republican Party. It says a lot that this bill, which is supposedly about health care, is being heard first in the Commerce Committee and not a health committee. Nevada is a state known for tourism. Is abortion tourism really the tagline we want to use as an advertisement? Come to Nevada, where our abortion limits are the same as China and North Korea. Senate Bill 131 is bad in so many ways. But first, let's start with the facts. Abortion is legal in Nevada until 6 months of gestation, past the point of viability for the child, and far past what other first world countries find acceptable, 3 months being the general limit in Europe. No one in Carson City can make abortion in Nevada illegal. Not the legislature, not the governor. The only people that can modify it are the voters of Nevada, and thus far they've shown no inclination to do so. This bill takes the fact that abortion is undeniably legal in Nevada and seeks to market our state as some sort of haven for women wishing to kill their children. Worse yet, it seeks to have doctors, which are unable to be certified in other states, allowed to practice in ours. Shoddy medical standards are how doctors like Adam Levy get to keep practicing, even after abortions they perform result in the death of their adult patients. Veterinarians and nail salons have more safety protections than an abortion clinic in Nevada. No matter your personal morality regarding abortion, the science is clear. Abortion stops a beating heart. Is this what we want our state to be known for? Visit Nevada, the national leader in killing the unborn? That slogan is horrific, and yet that is exactly what the sponsors of this bill are proposing. This bill would also protect criminals. Nevada leads the nation in human trafficking, most of the victims starting while they are underage. This is a particular danger in Nevada, where there are no parental consent laws and minors are able to get abortions without any adult notification. This is a heartbreaking, avoidable tragedy that casts a dark light on our bright
Thank you,
city.
ma'am. Can you submit your rest of your
One of the
testimony
most
in
common
writing?
tactics-
Thank you. Thank you. Submit your rest of your testimony in writing. We have anyone else broadcast, and we have about 8 minutes left for those who are on the phone. And remember, on telephone callers, remember, if someone has already said what you want to say, it's okay to say ditto so everyone else can get a chance to at least say something. Okay? Broadcast, anyone else?
Caller with the last three digits of 063, please continue.
Hello, my name is Teresa Bedoy, and the reason for my call is my concern for the young women that this will impact. My daughter was raped when she was 16 years old, newly 16 years old. The man who raped her was older. He threatened to kill her if she did not get an abortion. What we are talking about here are the unintended consequences of legalizing out-of-state abortionists who we cannot monitor to come to our state. I encourage you to read a book. It's called Rehumanize. A Vision to Secure Human Rights for All. It's written by an author, my daughter, who was raped at 16, who realized that if she got an abortion, that she would only be perpetuating violence. Her name is Amy Murphy, Aimee Murphy. I encourage you to read it, everybody. I am so impressed with the arguments on the support side of SB 131. You're so intelligent. I am not as intelligent as you. I oppose SB 131. I implore you to educate yourself on the value, the intrinsic value of each and every human being who at conception is a human and deserves human rights. Somebody talked about the right to life. This is the right to life. I oppose SB 131. Thank you.
Broadcast, do we have anyone else on the phones?
Caller with the last three digits of 894, please continue.
Hi, my name is Adma Diego. I just wanted to give a quick testimony. I was someone that did go through years ago, and because of that, I now suffer from infertility. So I think that a lot of the things that they tell you is you can do this and it's safe, but they don't tell you the long-term medical issues that you can have in the future. Thank you.
Caller with the last three digits of 579. We can see you're unmuted. Please continue.
Thank you. My name is Andrea Aguilar, Aguilar. I urge you to vote against SB 131. As I'm listening to the specifics of SB 131, all I can hear in my mind is the word hypocrites. You talk about medical rights and medical choice, but you never discuss medical centers that are available for women who help them have their babies and provide ultrasounds, prenatal care. I'm talking about the Women's Resource Center here in Las Vegas. They provide counseling for the entire family, parenting and budgeting classes for the entire family, and much, much more. You push Planned Parenthood, but they don't give women ultrasounds from the very beginning to show a heartbeat. They hide that fact. Hypocrites. You say doctors, you're protecting the doctors to give their patients advice. You only want to protect those doctors that are doing what you want them to do. You have been coming between me and my health care for the last 3 years. That's hypocritical. Stop being hypocrites. Stop dancing around the fact that you are killing humans. These are babies. Thank you.
If you've recently just joined us and you would like to speak in opposition of SB 131, please press *9 now or raise hand in your Zoom window. Caller with the last three digits of 828, please press *6 now to unmute yourself. Moving on to the next caller. Caller with the last three digits of 439, please press star 6 now to unmute yourself. One last time, caller with the last three digits of 439, please press star 6 now to unmute yourself. Thank you. Please continue.
Hi. Hi, my name is Rachel Poina, last name Puaina. I'm a public school teacher, mother of 4. I'm opposing Assembly Bill 131. I just want to speak up for all the countless potential danger this will bring on the youth. They keep saying on the other side that it won't attract for sex traffickers. Nonetheless, there are young people who date older adults, and those females need protection as well. We all know, as a young person hiding their relationship from their parents, they may be dating someone older, and this has happened. I can't speak on personal issues because of our oath to keep students' names out of it. So, but there are students that do date older kids or older adults. Young adults though. But their relationship is covered, and we all know to cover up any unplanned pregnancies, the youth would have to go to Planned Parenthood or some abortion clinic, and they don't have to disclose the adults that get them pregnant. So there is that. So you have to put that all in perspective. I know there's a lot of emotions on both sides. And speaking of just using abortion as healthcare, the death of an infant is not healthcare. I know it's
Thank you, ma'am.
still
Can you
choice,
please submit, your
still
time is up. Can you
elective.
please submit the rest of your testimony in writing?
Okay.
Thank you. Broadcast, we only have about a minute left. If there's anyone else on the phone, can you please unmute and begin your testimony?
Caller with the last three digits of 828, please continue. Caller with the last three digits of 828, we can see you are unmuted. Is your phone muted on your end? Okay, caller, we're going to have to move on to our last caller. Caller with the last three digits of 258, please press star 6 now to unmute yourself. Please continue.
Good morning. For the record, Jim DeGraff and Reed, I'm Nevada National Committee man on behalf of the Nevada Republican Party. Continuing on with the testimony given earlier by Alita Benson, it does say a lot that this bill, which is supposedly about health care, is being first heard in a Commerce Committee and not a Health Committee. One of the main things that we are concerned about with this bill is that it gives protection to criminals. Nevada leads the nation in human trafficking with many underage victims. This bill creates a particular danger in Nevada where there are no parental consent laws and minors are able to get abortions without any adult notification. One of the most common tactics of traffickers is forcing their female victims to have abortions so that the flow of illicit money does not stop. Why is the entire Democrat caucus united behind a bill that enables human trafficking into our state? Perhaps it is because trafficking victims can't afford campaign donations while NARAL, Planned Parenthood, and other purveyors of death do. Our state is deservedly known as the entertainment capital of the world. Please do not make it the abortion capital of the world. Democrats see dollar signs in stopping the hearts of living children, but it is dirty money obtained by hurting our most innocent. Please say no to SB 131. Thank you.
Chair, you have no more callers wishing to speak in opposition at this time.
Thank you. And so we'll close that portion of the hearing. I want to come back and, Senator Hammond, I think you had a question to ask. And Majority Leader, yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot neutral. Anyone here, that's okay. Anyone here
Hello?
testifying
Can
neutral?
we come back to Las Vegas, please?
Yeah, you can, if you did not get a chance to speak, you can submit your testimony in writing. Make sure it's in PDF form, or you can share your opinion on the legislator's opinion website on Nellis. So I'm
God
sorry,
will hold you accountable.
those who are waiting for neutral. Anyone here neutral? Broadcast, anyone on the phone for neutral?
If you would like to testify neutral on SB 131, please press star 9 now or raise hand in your Zoom window. Chair, you have no callers wishing to testify neutral at this time.
So we will close that portion, and I'll come back up here to the committee. Senator Hammond, you had a question?
I did, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. I know it's been lengthy, so I'll make it brief. The last question I had really was, a lot of times we pass bills and legislations being proactive and anticipatory. In this case, we've in the United States, we've had several occasions where one state's laws are a little different from another's. I remember being 18 and going to Hawaii, and the laws there were different when it came to underage drinking. I don't recall instances in which I'd heard anything about, and also traffic, speed laws and so forth. I just hadn't heard of anybody being prosecuted for going to another state. And so I know that you mentioned in your testimony that there are some states that are passing certain laws that in your mind we're going to prohibit and also go after folks who are providing health care as well as those who might seek health care. Have there been any cases so far that that you can bring to to us here that speak to what you believe is going to be again a trend going forward, where you're going to see more and more of this, where folks are getting prosecuted in other states for folks seeking healthcare related care in other states that are legal. If you could just highlight us on that.
Yes, thank you. Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6, to you, Senator Hammond. And I did want to also touch on your previous question regarding licensed. And I should have caught this a little earlier because I know we've been over this. And I believe that the reason why it doesn't say licensed, if you actually read that entire subsection B, it says, care found by a competent medical professional to be appropriate based on the wishes of the patient and in accordance with the laws of this state. So you're required to be licensed if you're practicing medicine here in Nevada. Otherwise, that's the unauthorized practice of medicine, and that is a whole different subject in and of itself, but I believe it's encompassed by that. You would have to be working within the laws of the state of Nevada. And I think that that also dovetails on what sort of conduct we are also getting at. If someone is practicing outside the bounds of their license or providing inappropriate care, that would certainly be captured there as well. As to your last question, you are correct, and I think that this is part of the issue with the plethora of legislation being passed in other states post-Dobbs, is that other states are seeking to criminalize conduct that in other states, like Nevada, is otherwise legal. And so to your example about going to Hawaii and being subject to different laws, no one in Nevada is seeking to prosecute you for actions that were conducted in Hawaii. And that is as it should be. With respect to cases that exist where people are seeking, where states are seeking to prosecute individuals who have obtained medical care outside of the state, outside of the reproductive health care space, I am not aware of any cases where that is true. And I think that that also leads back to the point made by Madam Chair, which is if you're seeking other health care here in Nevada, no other state is because they don't provide it or because they don't have it or because maybe they don't have a medical professional who's licensed to provide it, is not seeking to criminalize you for that. But specifically, and I'm happy to provide more specifics to the committee after this hearing as well, but that Ohio case of the 10-year-old who sought care in Indiana, they were seeking to prosecute her, I believe, in Ohio for having sought care. And that's exactly the problem that we're seeing with so many of these laws and exactly why Senate Bill 131 is necessary legislation, because we very well will see other states who are passing these laws saying we will prosecute women if you leave this state or you seek care in another state or you're a provider in another state, we're going to come and prosecute you and attempt to extradite you. We don't want that here in Nevada because that's not in alliance and in accordance with Nevada law.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question that has not previously asked one? So if I may just, point of privilege, as I listened to and read the bill, I was struck by a couple of similarities, particularly when with the question constantly coming up about whether or not we have ever had a law that prohibited prosecution or extradition for something that was done in another state where it was legal. And Harriet Tubman came to mind, who I think probably led about 100 former slaves. Anyone who is a student of history knows that one of the reasons that the Civil War was fought was because there were some states who had abolished slavery and would not extradite, word that we use now. Back then it was returned slaves once they reached the land of freedom. And so I don't think it's a stretch to say that this comports with part of our history in terms of liberty. And one of the things that happened between 1771 and 1862, just before the Civil War, was something called the Somerset versus Stewart, in which they held that anyone that humans could not be chattel and therefore could not be treated like property once they crossed a certain line. Let me ask this question because so many have referred to someone's health care. Is HIPAA erased when someone seeks medical care here under this bill?
Thank you. Nicole Canizaro, Senate District 6. Madam Chair, to you, I don't believe that this bill does anything to unwind any HIPAA rights. Obviously, HIPAA is very specific. This has to do with healthcare providers releasing healthcare information. So certainly those would still remain in effect. This does not supersede or overrule or render useless any privacy rights that exist under HIPAA.
Thank you. I guess one last point. As a practicing Christian for more than 40 years, I usually talk to God often. But I will also acknowledge that some people call God by another name. And so if that is your belief, then I acknowledge that, and you're certainly welcome to that, as I am mine. I am encouraged by the number of people who have come out on both sides. This is exciting. I have a bill that will come up in about another week that will expand, increase the amount of money that we provide for children in foster care so that when they age out of foster care, they can be financially secure. And we know that one of the things that makes children in foster care susceptible to human trafficking is that once they age out and they don't have a family or anything. So I'm going to invite everyone back on both sides to come and testify in support of that bill because certainly any interest in life and any interest in children, I'm sure goes beyond the womb. So just come back and we'll make sure that that you have an opportunity to testify at that point. I don't have a bill number for it yet, but it will be coming up very shortly, and it expands or extends the amount of money that we authorized in 2 sessions ago. So foster care children need your help once they age out, 18 years after they leave the womb. Madam Majority Leader?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I did want to point out a couple of things because I do believe that they warrant at least my addressing them, excuse me, before this committee. First and foremost, I want to be very clear that Senate Bill 131 does not give carte blanche to providers to provide dangerous, inaccurate, medically outside their licensed care. This bill is very specific, and there are many points in this bill, if you actually read the language that exists in the bill, that still provide plenty of room for licensing boards and other law enforcement agencies to go after doctors and providers who are not providing competent care. I did address the issue that I wanted to clarify with respect to licensing. They are still required to be licensed in this state. I would also point this committee to the other sections of this bill that deal with addressing, excuse me, that deal with addressing the fact that this bill says in section 1 that a healthcare licensing board shall not disqualify a person, this is in subsection 1 of section 1, from licensure or subject a person to discipline solely. And then there are two subparts to that: for providing or assisting in providing reproductive care services, or as a consequence of any judgment because of their providing or assisting in the provision of reproductive health care services. It seeks to just make sure that if that's the reason why you are subject to discipline, that you cannot be disciplined for that or denied a license. The rest of that section says if the reproductive health care services as provided would have been lawful and consistent with standards for the practice of the relevant profession in this state. There is nothing about this that prohibits a licensing board or other law enforcement agency from addressing a provider who is providing dangerous, medically inaccurate, unacceptable care. This bill does not exempt them from any oversight whatsoever, nor does it allow for the board to simply give reciprocity without conducting an investigation. That is absolutely not in the language of this bill, anywhere in the language of this bill. This bill allows for those licensing boards to do an accurate investigation. It just says that if the only reason for your denial of a license or for revoking of a license is because they provided reproductive care and you just don't like reproductive care, that's not the law in the state of Nevada. So that can't be the only basis. If it's because they're providing dangerous care or they're practicing outside of their license or otherwise not meeting standards of care, that is something that they absolutely can be disciplined or denied a license for, or even subject to prosecution for. Additionally, I think it bears noting, because there's been a lot of talk about what is allowable and what we're allowing for extradition for and what we are not. The plain language of this bill provides that if the services that are offered here in Nevada are legal when they are offered and practiced here in Nevada, that cannot be the basis for an extradition. And again, I know I made this point a little earlier, but a review of Chapter 179, which is the provisions that provide for extradition, for example, even allow the governor to conduct an investigation to determine if somebody should be extradited. So this is not outside of the current status of the law pertaining to extraditions that allows the governor latitude to even make a decision about whether to extradite someone. And that is in Chapter 179. This is just providing that if this is the only basis, then that's not something that we as a state are going to abide by. And you can see that, excuse me, even in Section 2, subsection 1, unless the acts forming the basis of the prosecution of the crime charged would constitute a criminal offense under the laws of the state of Nevada. If you come here and you commit a crime, so if you are engaging in sex trafficking, if you are engaging in selling of young girls and in prostitution, that is illegal in Nevada. Nothing about this bill prohibits someone from being prosecuted for that. And in fact, the plain language of Senate Bill 131 allows for that to happen. There is nothing about this that shields anyone who is committing child abuse or who is sex trafficking from being prosecuted for those crimes. Nothing about this allows for that to happen. Additionally, if someone is in another state and commits a crime in that state, that is illegal and would be illegal under the laws of Nevada, and they thereafter flee from that state, we would still extradite. That would still be a basis for the governor to sign an extradition warrant if he so chose. And you can see that as well, where in subsection 2 of section 2, it says, the person who is the subject of demand was physically present in the demanding state at the time of the commission of the alleged offense and thereafter fled from that state. So there's nothing that would prohibit another state from seeking the regular course of prosecution for criminal acts that are committed in that state. This is not a bill that is seeking to shelter people who are committing things like sex trafficking or child abuse. I will also, as a point of privilege, say that for over a decade, I spent my career representing victims of crime. That is not something that I take lightly, nor have ever taken lightly. And as someone who has spent a significant amount of time doing just that, it is irresponsible for the idea that because this might lead to sex trafficking, we shouldn't pass this legislation. That is, as I mentioned, a red herring. It is a false narrative, and frankly, it's a conspiracy theory. This has nothing to do with sex trafficking. This has nothing to do with child abuse. And as someone who has been in those spaces, I can tell you with all certainty that this is not the reason why sex trafficking exists, nor is this going to be a way for that to become more prolific in the state of Nevada. If we want to have a conversation about sex trafficking, I welcome it with any member of this committee or any member of this body, because that is something that I take very seriously. This bill does not allow for that. This is basically saying that in Nevada, where these services are lawful, they shall remain lawful for the people who are here getting and receiving those services and for those providers who are providing them. And again, there is nothing about this that protects predators, sex traffickers, transporting kids over the border, all still illegal, all still subject to criminal prosecution. Nothing about this aids or abets that, and to believe otherwise is to engage in a conspiracy theory, which I am not willing to do, Madam Chair. Additionally, what I would also like to point out, because there's been a lot of talk about how if this is healthcare, what are we talking about? And let's make a differential between, what type of services it is that women are or patients are receiving. And that is not what the law in the state of Nevada is, nor is that what this bill is seeking to do. What we are saying and what we should affirm, because the overwhelming majority of Nevadans believe that a patient, a woman, should be able to seek reproductive care, regardless of what that is, based on the consultation with her provider or their provider and the patient, period. Not with all of us standing in the room with them trying to dictate what constitutes or does not constitute appropriate health care. This bill is not in a healthcare committee because it is not a debate about whether or not abortion or reproductive health care is health care, because it is. This bill is before this committee because, as this committee is aware, your jurisdiction revolves around the licensing and the discipline of providers and the elements that pertain thereto. That has historically been the case. This bill has many provisions that relate to that, and so therefore, this bill is before this committee, which I appreciate the time and the questions that I thought were very thoughtful from the members of this committee. But we are not here to debate that. We are not here to debate whether or not abortion is legal. We are not here to debate whether or not reproductive health care is legal. It is in Nevada because Nevadans support it. And as a born and raised Nevadan myself, this is something that I also hope that this committee supports. We should not be allowing for other states to reach over their borders and prosecute people for things that are legal here. Plain and simple. And that is all this bill does. Madam Chair, I appreciate your immense time, the diligent questions of the committee, and everyone for being here to express their opinions. I believe that this is the right course for Nevada. I believe it is in accordance with Nevada's laws, and I would urge the committee's support. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Majority Leader. And with that, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 131, and we will open it up for public comment. Reminding folks who may be on the phone or here that it's kept to 2 minutes, so everyone interested in speaking can be accommodated. So, broadcast, do we have anyone on the phone for public comment?
If you would like to speak in public comment, please press *9 now on your phone or raise hand in your Zoom window.
Good morning, Cyrus Sojati. I guess the real greater concern is whether it's not
Excuse
whether
me, can you
abortion
state
is
your name
legal
and
or
spell your
not.
name, please? State and spell your name, please.
Cyrus, Cyrus Hojati, Cyrus-Hojjaty. And the same can be mentioned about birth control. The question is, why do we have a society of these unplanned pregnancies? Why do we have a social structure that allows this to happen? And a large part of this is due to promiscuous behavior. We've seen vast changes in our society in dating, mating in the last 60 years. And I do not want to support irresponsible behavior. I want to educate
Excuse me, sir.
people about the
Excuse me,
importance
sir.
of
We've
family
closed the
pregnancy.
hearing on 131. Do you have any additional comments on another subject matter?
Just family in general. May I do that?
You have 42 seconds.
Okay, women have a biological clock, and they should be pursuing long-term relationship better in their 20s. You talk about my body and my choice. Many of you try to push the vaccines, not to mention the passports, the masks, the lockdowns. We want to know if it worked. I support traditional masculine and feminine roles, and people are saying, well, we need more immigration because of low birth rates. That's what Mo Dennis told me. So we have to find a common ground. Do you see the whole greater picture? Thank you so much.
Broadcast, anyone else on the phone?
Yes, Chair, we're queuing them up right now. Caller with the last three digits of 090, please press *6 now to unmute yourself. Again, caller with the last three digits of 090, please press *6 now to unmute yourself. Thank you. Please continue.
Thank you. My name is Erin Phillips. I was waiting to testify neutral, but I would just like to make a public comment. I'm extremely pro-life, and I'm heartbroken about the laws that already exist in Nevada, laws that were passed by the will of the people. I'm heartbroken that Nevada doesn't have a minimum requirement of parental notification to protect underage girls. I'm also heartbroken that women, especially women of color, are preyed upon by pro-abortion laws, lawmakers, traffickers, and more. But this particular bill is a straw man. It does nothing to change Nevada's abortion laws.
Excuse me, ma'am.
I disagree
Ma'am,
with
hello,
those opposed.
hello, ma'am.
Yes,
Ma'am?
I was waiting.
Yeah,
to speak in
and I'm
neutral
sorry, I
earlier.
neglected to say, once we close the hearing, any public comment should be about something other than the hearing.
Madam, I was waiting and I had my hand raised to speak in neutral, and I just wanted to speak and give my testimony in neutral. Can I please do that?
Okay, yeah, just, complete your testimony.
Okay, thank you. Abortion tourism is already our heartbreaking reality, and trafficking is already our heartbreaking reality in the state. The speaker cannot provide any real life examples of where other states are expanding resources to pursue and prosecute women and providers, because it has not happened. It's hypothetical. This bill is a solution in support of a problem, in search of a problem, but it is pure political theater to put Republicans on the record for, quote, prosecuting women, even though it would do no such thing. The speaker mentioned earlier in her testimony that one of the committee members' questions was, quote, a red herring. I would counter that this entire bill is a red herring. No one on this committee is in support of prosecuting women who have sought abortion services. No one will be prosecuted for seeking an abortion in Nevada with or without this bill. This bill is a waste of time for taxpayers and resources, and it's aimed at targeting Republican seats in the future elections.
Hello,
We should be
ma'am,
able
you
to
said
expect
you're
more
neutral?
from our
Hello, ma'am?
lawmakers.
Hello,
Thank
ma'am?
you.
Yeah, you said
I'm
you're
done.
neutral, but it doesn't sound like your testimony was.
I am
But
neutral.
thank you. Thank
no,
you.
I'm neutral. I think that this bill is a sham.
Okay, thank you. We'll come back up here, and again, public comment is reserved for comments other than what we've already talked about on the bill, okay? We don't relitigate the bill. Once we close the hearing, we close the hearing. So, anyone in Las Vegas? Don't see anyone. We'll come back up here. Public comment, not about the bill. Thank you.
Hello again. Renee Rezentes, Rezentes, and this isn't about the bill, but it is about, well, I'll just go into it. I heard a woman speak just yesterday about, she's a beautiful black woman, and she said that she does not want rides to the abortion clinics. She does not want money spent for their tickets or whatever.
Ma'am?
Lynching, she said lynching
I understand, but
is
ma'am.
in the womb.
Hello, ma'am.
And she's
Ma'am,
accusing
hello,
of
please.
lynching
Okay,
in
please,
the womb.
Please. If anything about this bill is not public comment, so respectfully, if you're going to say anything about Senate Bill 131, that was already said, but we won't relitigate that in public comment.
This wasn't already said.
Okay, but ma'am, it's still about the bill. Okay, and probably what I need to do when we start our meetings, I need to explain that to everyone. Public comment is something other than the bill we discussed. If you want to submit that as testimony, you're free to do so.
Okay.
Okay, but this is not public comment, so thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here today and for testifying. We will... Okay, we have some people down in Las Vegas. And again, let me be clear. Let me be clear. Public comment is not about this bill. And if you say anything related to Senate Bill 131, I will ask you to stop. You can submit that testimony over the internet, PDF, or you can submit it as an opinion on the legislature's website. But we will not, let me say it again, we will not go back into testimony for, against, or neutral on Senate Bill 131. I really hope I'm speaking clearly and everyone understands what I'm saying. And if I need to ask you to read my lips, I will do that again. Nothing about Senate Bill 131 will be discussed or heard in public comment. Thank you very much. So if you're talking about something other than 131, this is public comment for that. If you want to talk about anything related to Senate Bill 131, I will ask you to stop speaking. Thank you.
Hi, my name is James Pels. I'm actually from Carson City, live in Las Vegas, and Jesus saved my life, and he is the reason why that I'm here. And I just want to say to everybody, God is real. The fear of God needs to be instilled in everybody today, because there is something tragic happening in our nation, and if we don't wake up, man, Jesus is coming back soon. So people need to get ready. Repent from your sins and believe in your heart that Jesus died and rose again. This is the good news, my friends. All of this can be settled by that. The blood of Jesus is what covers our sins. And I'm not here to condemn. I'm just here to tell you the news that he brought us, and it is great news. So I pray that you hear this news and that it will wash you clean and that you will believe in your hearts that Jesus Christ is the Son of God and that you will make him the Lord of your life. God have mercy on this nation. God have mercy on the state of Nevada. God have mercy on us all. Thank you.
Madam Chair, my name is Henry Thorns, HenryThorns, and I think American is great. I'd like to thank all the visitors, all the Europeans that came to America. I'd like to thank them for being in our country, where we raised, where we built. You know, I like to thank them. And at the same time, I like to say, come join us. Stop being haters. Start coming together like real Americans. Because China ain't playing with us, Russia ain't playing with us, but we over here fighting each other. This system must stop. You know, God bless America. And at the same time, God bless everybody. I'm sitting here watching people wearing shirts about, it's outrageous what they wearing. They can't wear it in my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? It's outrageous. I thought racism was over. I thought things was changing. But I guess it's coming back. You know, I remember days you want to take history books out of classes because you don't want to know what your ancestors and your aunt uncles and your great-great-granddaddies did to us. So now you want to remove the books? You want to remove anything that you think is okay when it comes to white is right. We all Americans. And by you think you white, you got black in you too. Like me, I got white in me too. I got nieces and nephews of all race. And I come down here today to hear this. It was unbelievable to me. But I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to appreciate you guys listening to me. But we got a bigger war, and we ain't going backwards. We ain't going backwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thorne. I don't see anyone else at the table. And so what we will do is we will end this meeting of Commerce and Labor, and we'll be back here again on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Thank you. We're adjourned.